live death every day.
Hail, everybody. How are you doing? Coming to you live from the heart of Lovecraft Country in the birthplace of American religious liberty. My name is Shanth and Jetty, and you are watching Shanth and Jetty Art. Welcome to the Late Night Waffle Lodge Oddcast. We're going to talk about a bunch of things. I'm going to be painting today. Look, Ma, I'm painting. I'm going to be painting today, talking about all of this exciting stuff that I've got going on. We're 19 days and counting left on Nosfero, the Crypt Walker, folks, and I am really excited. We passed 11K. We're at 11, I think it was 11,555 last time I looked. And I want to thank you guys for your support. I want to keep eyes on that campaign, get it moving, so share it out everywhere you can. And thank you guys so much for being here. So I am working away on right now on a painting for Nosfero 2. I've been working on stuff for Springball, all kinds of different things. But first, let me see who we've got in the chat. Let me see who we've got here. Say hello to all the folks here and the channel members. Let's see here. We've got Mr. Monkey Boy 1969. It is great to see you, my friend. We've got channel member Cranberry Langers. It is great to see you, Cranberry Langers. We've got Past Master Dan in the house. We have got the Alpha, the Omega, the first channel member, Stephen Rockwood, drawing. It is great to see you, Stephen Rockwood. How are you doing, my friend? We have got Spaceman here. Waffle time, friends. Yes, indeed, it is. It is. Let's see who else we've got here. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss anybody? Let's see. And hello to all my folks on X. I also want to start off today. I know we try to keep things somewhat light around here and have a fun time during this particularly happy October 1st, August. Whew, guys, it's been one of those weeks. Happy October 1st. We are in October. We are on our way to Halloween, which is, of course, something that speaks to Nosfero and is near and dear to my heart. But I also wanted to say to all of you folks out there who've been affected by this insane hurricane, I've got family in Florida, and I know Shane is in North Carolina, but it's also hit a bunch of other states as well. I hope you guys are getting the help you need, and we're keeping you in our thoughts and our prayers. It's been a terrible situation to watch, but I want you guys to know that I know that it is incredibly rough right now, and we're thinking about you guys. Yeah. So here we are in October, and I've been working away on this stuff. But one of the things that has been fun about looking at this page and working on this page again, I took it out. Hello, Emo, how are you doing? And yes, indeed, it is. Is I was sitting here and I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do with this page? And for those of you guys who know the book and have seen me work on this painting, I feel as though, as I've been working on writing Springball, as I've been working on Nosfero 2, working on all of the different things I've got going on, I've kind of come back to this particular point, and it's become more and more important, and it's become more and more central in what I do. This whole idea of giving nihilism no quarter, this whole idea of making things beautiful and making things that are that speak to what my interests and my passions are. So I was working on this page, and originally my plan for this page was that Laurel was not going to be wearing anything at all. And I thought, well, it's a dream sequence. That could be very cool. That could be very interesting. And maybe that's the direction that I'm going to go with this page. And after a while, thinking about it and sort of watching a lot of horror movies and reconnecting with why I did this book and what was so exciting to me about it, I go, I have to have a diaphanous nightgown. I have to start this page with it because it's such an important part of the aesthetic. I know, Steven, I thought the same thing, of course. Of course, I thought the same thing. And I was like, oh, frustrating. But there will be plenty of opportunity for that in my books. But it's the idea of putting that hammer horror aesthetic with the Lovecraft, world, the Cthulhu mythos, that was really, really important to me when I was doing this book. And, it's funny to write a book that has monsters and creatures and be obsessed with that kind of thing, and at the same time want to be writing something that's about optimism and writing something that's about beauty and writing something that's about the stuff that I care about and I think we are desperately needing to have highlighted right now. And so that's kind of where my head has been at this weekend, and as I've been working and as I've been looking at things and looking at what I want to do, all of my heroes have had in their origin story a rough start. They've had a rough start, and they've had things not be particularly easy, and things have not gone well for them. And they've chosen the light. They've chosen to move in a positive direction. And I think one of the things that's important to me in Nosfero, and that used to be a major part of American culture, and the things that gave our entertainment and the things that we made a certain kind of vitality and interest, was the values that we put into the work, and that we were actually trying to build something. And I refer to it as the Judeo-Christian Western civilization and the things that it made, from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, on down the line. That these are very important aspects of our creative process and what we make and what we do. And I think that for me, when I was looking at the stuff I'm doing, I look around me and I see a lot of stuff in this particular genre of horror, monsters, adventure, and action that sort of celebrates a futility of it and doesn't have a particularly powerful counterpoint to the forces of darkness and the forces of nihilism and all of that stuff that is the real vitality of what we do. And it's strange because in a lot of ways, it takes away any meaning or any energy in story when you get rid of that stuff. And it's always been a part of the genre, because without it, there's no reason. If everything is meaningless, then there's no point in doing it at all. And while people, someone would say, yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you, that's not what my work's about, that's not what you're going to get here. Because for me, my characters and the stuff I write is about what happens once you've spent enough time staring into the abyss, and what do you build to make the abyss tremble when it sees you looking back at it. That's what good is. That's what the light is in this world. And so that is, there we go. See, you finally found a short link, and thank you for sharing those links out past Master Dan. Yes, check out Red Extermination, check out all the great campaigns that we have there. So I was thinking about, as I was working on Spring Ball, I've got so many plates spinning, and as I was working on, I finally updated the Super Chat / Member Chat cheerleaders for spooky season. I had a scary version of the cheerleaders that was done way, way back, many years ago. And I changed the logo on the cheerleaders so I couldn't use it for this one. I changed the layout of the room, so I had to completely rebuild that for this. So I was doing some work, and I've been busy. And as I've been working on that, and I've been working on Spring Ball, there are these moments that, for me, when I'm writing, that are the whole point of why you should back Nosfero and why anybody should be excited to back these books. Because I think it's important. It's kind of like a strange little, I don't know, what would we call it? A credo, a promise, or whatever for my work. Is that when you read this book, it is not going to tell you that there's no point. It's not going to tell you that good has no meaning. It's not going to paint a picture of good that's weak. It's going to paint a picture of good that's strong. And there have been several powerful moments in Nosfero, including what I'm doing right now in Spring Ball, which also includes this stuff, where I've just been going, yeah, yeah, no, forget that, man. Forget all that nihilism. Forget all of that negativity. Forget all of that stuff. It's too easy. It's too easy. And it's ridiculous. Hey, Tammy, what's happening with you? Are you okay? I know you're down in Florida. Is everything all right? I was looking forward to hearing from you. Give us an update, please, because I know it's crazy. I'm waiting to hear from Mark, too, man. I hope he's okay. I've been thinking about that this week. But yeah, I mean, I'm sick of it, I guess is the best way I could put it. I'm burnt out on the whole thing of, the hopelessness and what's really the point and all of that. We've taken that to its logical conclusion, and frankly, it's nowhere that I want to be. It's nowhere I'm interested in being. Mark is okay, says Awesome One. Good. I'm glad to hear it. You know what it is? It's like you want to check in on everybody and see how everybody's doing when that happens. What's up, Mighty Geek Studios? How are you doing, my friend? We are here in spooky season, October 1st. I've got the cheerleader super chat video finally edited so that I have my Halloween one fixed and ready to go. But we're all doing really great, except for, of course, the folks who've been battling all of the horrendous weather. But yeah, we're doing great, man. So yeah, I was writing a line. When I'm writing my characters and I'm writing stories, I have to think about things that speak to me with this. Lost power for about 24 hours, but that was it. Good. I'm so glad to hear it. So glad to hear that you're doing okay. But as I was writing these characters, and when how I write is my characters start with they're having a conversation, and I play the conversation out in my head, which is to say, what would this character say to this character? What would this character's response be to that character? And that's important to me. That's important to me to do that. And it's how I think. And I think that you have to know what you would say if you were asked an uncomfortable question by a character that was going through something very difficult. You have to know what the answer would be for that. And when people read books where somebody has an answer for a difficult question in a work of fiction, sometimes it can be the answer they needed to hear in real life. So it's giving people something that's beautiful to look at and giving them a story that's beautiful or funny or entertaining or amusing. Whatever it is, you want to put that kind of stuff out there. And so I've been kind of living in that space where I've put out 2 art books. This is my 4th campaign. I've put out my first comic book in Comicsgate, and I guess I had a little bit of time to kind of, while working, to sit back and think about how I feel about the work that I'm doing and what I think about it. And I got to tell you guys, I'm really proud of the stuff that I'm putting out there now. And that's not something I typically say or feel about the stuff. What's up, Paulus Arts? How are you doing, my friend? It's great to see you. And I love the fact that there are, incredible creators around me who are putting out work that they believe in and are doing all of this stuff. It's a real gift to have that. But you can't get up and go to the drawing board and do this kind of work, or the painting board, depending on, if you don't have a reason that drives you. And for so long, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced this before, my work was kind of out of sync with my life. And I mean that I didn't know how to articulate the things that, in terms of with my art and with my artwork, that I really believed, because I was still trying to figure those things out. I think that's, probably a common thing of when you're young. But having, raised my children now and having had, this moment to kind of look at things and process them, I really do keep coming back to the idea that good and kindness and positivity are some of the most important things that we put out there. And so many of the wicked sort of things that are celebrated or seen as being, I've lost my taste for it's all a joke entertainment. And that's the thing I've got nothing for at this point. Hey, what's up, Jeremy Burtz? By the way, channel member Jeremy Burtz and channel member Tammy D. Thank you guys so much for being here. And again, thank you, channel member Awesome One, for being here as well. It's craziness. Hey, what's up, Caleb? How are you doing? And thank you for the kind words, my friend. Thank you for the kind words. So yeah, that's been really a factor for me. And maybe it has to do with the fact that I was watching that there's a couple of Dracula movies in the pipeline that are going to be coming out. Apparently, Luc Besson is directing a Dracula movie. That, to me, sounds like it's going to basically be the Francis Ford Coppola version. It's the romantic true story where, Dracula is a, tragic romantic figure as opposed to who he was in the book. And then Nosferatu by Robert Eggers, and I really don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in what he does narratively. But I just think that I know he's fairly cynical about the idea of good and things having a meaning. There's that element of it. And so I don't know. It's strange, but it's highlighted to me that we have a void of heroism in our work, and heroism that you can really connect with. And so by having my villains that I create in my stories be worthy adversaries for only the best of heroes, it makes me write my heroes better, and it makes me take the challenge of writing my heroes more seriously, maybe. Although I don't know if I do anything at half speed. And so it's definitely been an interesting week of thinking about that kind of stuff and thinking about why Nosfero is important to me and why it's worth dedicating the amount of time I do to do a hand-painted comic book. I mean, that's the stuff that goes through your mind. Mighty Geek Studios, what's up? How are you doing? Yeah, Dracula has always been a romantic figure. Probably since the stage, and probably, since with the adaptations, but I would say, in the novel, he's just gross, for lack of a better way of putting it. He's not wildly fleshed out, and he's just gross. I think we've had this tendency to romanticize him, and it makes sense, because we're selling pulp, right? But it really, the heroes of that story and the romantic figures of that story are the band of brothers, I think, who go after to take him down. Like, that to me is one of the great things. And I guess I'm waiting for that story to be told. And I'm waiting to see if somebody is able to tell it. Because every time I get a story of this is Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I'm not even talking about just the movie of that name, it's the same movie. And I love, by the way, the original 1931 Dracula. I love all of that stuff. But it's... if you read the actual book, like, it was so fascinating to me about all of this stuff is, I'll see directors and people who are starring in movies based on these works. And while they're promoting the movies, I'm trying not to mention a particular person's name, but I was just like, are you out of your mind? He goes, well, obviously I've read the book and it's just a painful read. He was talking about Frankenstein. It's just a terrible read. I can't stand that. It's so dry. And I'm looking at him and I'm going, it's one of the great works of literature. You couldn't speak about it with reverence. It feels a little bit, like how the actress was talking about the original Snow White. Like, obviously we've got to fix this. And I'm like, well, it's been surviving fine without your fixing, and maybe you should read it. Or reread it before you try to rewrite it, that kind of thing. Tammy D says, speaking of heroes, there have been a lot of stories of heroes during... Yes, exactly. Yes, there have been. Yeah. The novel focuses more on the biases of the human condition based on the fear of the kind of, but I think that there's a little bit more at play there. Because I think that... the thing, and I'm not saying that there's not, it's a big book, like in the sense of, I don't mean it's a big book in terms of size or length of the novel, but it covers a lot of ground that was surprising to me. And again, I just have to say what's up again to Jeremy Burt's, man. It's always great to see you, brother. It's the fact that, that Van Helsing is kind of, his Catholicism, and that Van Helsing is reintroducing into this particular time period in England. He's reintroducing some of these old ways to combat the vampire. Like, this is an ancient evil, and I have to go do research because we've forgotten the ways to battle it. And then thrown into the mix, you have this Texan who is kind of like, he's kind of like a fantasy friend. Do you know what I mean? Oh, yes. The story of Frankenstein definitely has more nuance, and I mean, not more nuance, but you know what I mean. It asks a lot of interesting questions. Yeah, the heroes do heroic deeds. Yes, And that's the thing that got me about Dracula is that you've got this idealized friendship in a weird way with Quincy. Quincy's the guy, this American from Texas with a giant Bowie knife, and he shows up and he's courting the same girl that these other guys are courting, and then he doesn't get her. But when she takes ill because of Dracula, he's like, well, what y'all need? Essentially. That's not how Bram Stoker wrote it. But he's like, so, what y'all need? All right, I guess we got to go kill him then. And you look at this character, and he's such a... It's almost as if it's a romanticizing of... You've got Van Helsing, who is an outsider with a German name, and is coming from a faith that is not the faith of the people in the main central figures in the story. You've got another character who's taken out and sent to Romania, and he has that experience there, so he's an outsider. You've got a Texan coming into this scene, and he's an outsider. So you have these three foreigners kind of, in a sense, converging on London. And they're all bringing a part of the puzzle. A part of, there's an evil that is out, that you've forgotten about, that's outside of this world. There's a good that is the good of the sort of early Christian tradition that you've sort of forgotten. And then there's this other aspect, which is, and then there's this element of readiness for adventure and basically going, is this a private fight or can anybody get into it? This go-getter, let's make it happen attitude. That's the American attitude of Quincy. And anybody who hasn't just, at the very least, listened to Christopher Lee's reading of Dracula, that's the abridged version, to get into it. But how great is that? And I almost see none of this stuff talked about. And as it's the Halloween season, it feels like it's right to talk about this stuff. And it's right to back Nosfero the Crypt Walker, because that is what it is. It's very much in the gothic romantic style of Dracula. And if someone were to say to me, what's the flavor of the book? And that's a weird one for a supernatural hero book. The flavor of Nosfero attempts to have as much of the richness as I can of the pulpy, romantic quality of Dracula. That iconic, canonical work that is, in many ways, less nuanced, but it's than Frankenstein and Mary Shelley's brilliant work, which I do want to talk about at some point during this month. But it's the cure for what ails you. It's what we need. Do you know what I mean? We need, every now and again, you don't need someone to say to you, you know, oh, we're in a tough spot right now, guys. We're in a tough spot. We're in a tough spot. And there's nothing we can do about it. But when you think about it, what's really the point? I mean, in a sense, we don't have any control or power, or agency, or responsibility in the situation, so whatever, and let's tune out. The black pill, so to speak. And, oh my God, in my dreams, yeah, Greylock is 100% inspired by Whistler from Blade. The adoptive father of Nosfero. Greylock is really influenced by Whistler, and I love those movies. And again, rest in peace. What an amazing actor. That was like a gut shot, man. But it's what are you gonna do, man? But it's I love the idea of writing characters, because this is the cool thing about this space. You know, we've got a big age range of people. We've got a lot of people who have seen a lot of things in their time, including myself. And I just don't buy that there's no... because I've seen too much. Based on experience, I just can't be convinced by somebody that there's no point to heroism, that there's no point to any of this stuff. Leg Kick 1, how are you doing? It's great to see you, man. Yes, Wraith of God, absolutely, man. Yes, indeed. It's great to see you, Leg Kick 1. And Simply Green in the house. Yeah, and Aaron actually, I think Aaron gets that, and as well. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's the trappings and the aesthetics of horror are interesting and compelling, and a lot of people love the aesthetics. It's the message of the great Gothic works that I think a lot of people are missing when they tackle this type of subject matter, when they tackle the vampire, when they tackle good. It's almost like it's neutered. Yeah, that would be really cool, at least certainly to do a piece or a painting of. Yeah, rest in peace, Chris Christopherson, man. You know, he's amazing, man. Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's how do I word it? With the advent of technology and with the advent of progress, as was happening at the time of Dracula, we have to find a way to assimilate those universal themes and those constants that are the food for the soul of humanity. And because, as I think C.S. Lewis said, absent healthy spiritual food, a man will eat poison rather than starve. And so the coming together of Quincy, the coming together of Van Helsing, and then again, a part that always gets left out of the movies. Somebody tell me if the most important part, hail to my brother Michael Bancroft, it does look good. I almost want to like it, but I don't know. I've seen horror. Horror that you see. The human animal. Oh man. But yeah, it's what's the way I would put it? Has there ever been a Dracula film that ends many years in the future like Harry Potter does, where Jonathan and Mina are playing with their son, who is named Quincy after Quincy Morris, their dear friend, and they're thinking about what they've been through and how they've triumphed over evil? Has that ever been shown in a movie of Dracula? I really would love to know. Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to Monster Summer as well. Yeah, and the New Salem's Lot looks good. Yes, I'm excited about all the cool horror stuff that's happening. Yep. Yeah, that looks really cool. That looks really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff coming out right now. There's a lot of great stuff. And I'm interested in it. But I think that most people, or I should say most work right now, we have this void of really true heroism happening in our stories. And that's what Nosfero's about. So if that's the stuff you believe in, and if that's the stuff you want to see happen, back this book, because that is what its central purpose is. That's the stuff that I believe in. And it's weird to me because I think that in some ways it's an easier sell to pitch things that are, in terms of this particular genre, that are negative, right? Because you go, well, how would you do a hero or create a compelling world that's not all doom and gloom in the realm of horror? And I'm like, I don't know, Blade works, as people were saying. Solomon Kane works. Conan works. You can do it. There's even heroism in Lovecraft. That's the stuff that I'm most interested in doing, because I just think that we need more of it. We need light in the darkness. We need a battle between good and evil. And when Nosfero, when you meet Nosfero in book 1, and you see what he's been through, and you see the fact that it hasn't broken him, he has experienced what to me is the principal horror of our day, and the principal evil of our day at the moment. Not that I think it's ever, it ever takes second, place for much, but which is the feasting on the innocent, and the feasting on the innocent life, and the subversion of life by the vampire, by the parasite, by the person who has a total disregard for all of the virtues that keep humanity going, and who wants to basically destroy all life on the planet and in this world, which is what the forces of evil in Nosfero want to do. That's what Amun al-Hazared wants to do. That's the thing that is interesting to me, and to have somebody who can stand up to it. What's up, John? Good to see you, man. To have somebody who can stand up to that and make that happen and say, look, let's get excited. Let's take this stuff down. I mean, I know everybody, whenever we get to a point where we're tired and where we're exhausted, that's when we need this stuff the most, and it's most important to do it. And I guess today I was thinking about the late 70s, because I kind of feel like we're in an echo of that right now. And I was thinking about that when Star Wars came out, people didn't even know how to process it, because it had been so long since somebody had done a good, old-fashioned, but new-fashioned, that took into account new tech, just like Dracula, man. It's the story of Dracula. New technology, new ways of thinking, combined with the old, make something new. I don't know that Lovecraft, I don't know that anybody has done with the Lovecraft mythos what I'm doing in Nosfero, personally. I don't think so. I've looked around and I see a lot of people leaning into the parts that you would be hard pressed to explore better than Lovecraft has. But I don't see a lot of people leaning into the good. You get kind of heroes like Hellboy, right? But you're not going to see... Hellboy is not all in on good. He's not all there, you know? Yeah, never read Dracula. He's such a pretty boy. You're right, he is. Oh, God, yeah. That's his descriptors are terrible. I was listening to... what's his name? Christopher Lee. His audiobook of it the other day, and he talks about Jonathan Harker sitting down with Dracula, and that when Dracula goes to breathe in his direction, his breath is so hideous that he almost throws up. That's Dracula, described in a nutshell. I mean, it's insanity. So yeah, I mean, that's a true monster. That's a true evil, and what Lucy goes through. So how many of you guys in the chat, give me, I'm going to have to space these out. All right, so I'm going to space these questions out. How many of you guys, give me some ones in the chat, have seen Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola? Just let me know in the chat if you've seen it. Ones in the chat if you've seen it. Okay, we got good. We're getting some ones. I thought we might. I thought we might get some ones. Very nice. So we've got Stephen Rockwood Drawing with a 1. We've got Tammy D with a 1. We've got Mr. Monkey Boy 1969 with a 1. Not yet, says Cranberry Landers. All right, there we go. Spaceman says me. Michael Bancroft says 1. Jake the Muss says 1. Michael Deitch says 1. Let's see here. Maromi, cool, hippo with a pumpkin. I love watching hippos eat pumpkins, by the way, at the zoo. It's great to see a Maromi. Oh my gosh, let me see. I'm ashamed. Don't feel ashamed. 1 Mighty Geek Studios. There's no need. There's no need. We've got Spaceman with a 1. Did I get Mighty Geek Studios? There we go. Let's see who else we've got. William Wellborn with a 1 in the house. Good to see you, William, and excellent. All right, cool. If you are into practical effects, that movie has them all. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. You're not a social pariah. You're always well. Yeah, Mark's Music Obsession. How are you doing, brother? I was dying to hear that you were all right. So I'm glad to see it. Hey, everyone. I'm in a business meeting that I hope won't last too much more than another 30 minutes. Mark, we're just glad you're all right, and I hope everybody in your family down in Florida is okay, and take care of yourself, and you head on in here whenever you get a chance. Okay, so we're going to start with that bit of it, right? So, how many of you guys, now we're going to have another sea of ones. Here we go. I watch Coppola's Dracula once a year. Yep, I own it on Blu-ray. I watch it all the time. In terms of, I love Eiko Ishioka's amazing designs on it. So here's another one. How many of you guys have seen, and I mean watched, not had it on in the background, because I used to think I'd seen most of it, and it's not a trick question. How many of you guys have seen the 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula? How many of you guys have seen that? One's in the chat if you have. The 1931 Dracula. Let's see what we got here. Parts of it says past Master Dan. See, this is what interests me, because I think I was like that for, oh gosh, I want to say maybe until I was in my 30s did I really sit down and watch it, maybe, but who knows. We've got a 0.5. I know what you mean. I have not seen it yet, but I just got the disc. There you go. We got a 1 from William, a 1 from Maromi, a 13 for Mr. Monkey Boy, but I'll take that as a 1. Michael Deitch has got a 1 in the chat. Let's see, up many times with a 1 from Spaceman. Mighty Geek Studios has got a 1 in the house. See what I'm saying? Venom Bite, I only watched it once last year. There you go. Was that on Halloween? I feel like you were about to say Halloween. I've seen that movie at least 25 times. I'm in the same part. So let's talk about this for a second. We're in Halloween, we're in October, the first day of October, heading towards Halloween. If you have not seen the 1931 Dracula, that is a canonical film of Western culture. Do yourself a favor and check it out. Whatever your opinion is, good, bad, different, whatever you think of it, it's worth understanding as the birth of American cinematic horror in a true sense. You know, because Nosferatu owes itself to Germany. There's a lot of different other films, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. All of those movies owe themselves to Europe, but this was this was something new. I mean, you could argue that Phantom of the Opera really put it on the map, but this was a little bit different. What Dracula and Frankenstein did was a bit different. Okay, so there's less people who have seen the original Dracula, which makes sense, than the Bram Stoker's. Yes, oh my gosh, man, are you serious? I think it's pretty good. But I respect that you even know it exists. Here's what I'll say about the Spanish version. The cinematography is better. The diaphanous gowns are 1,000 times better. Maromi, can we come to a togetherness on the female lead's dresses being superior in the Spanish version? Let me know in the chat if you would agree with me on that. The Bela Lugosi just does way better than the Spanish actor. They use the same sets. They shot at night, but they did a 100%, like, totally different cast with different cinematography, and it's a really cool flick. It's a really cool flick. Yes, I know as well as Ashamed, right, Sean? You guys know what I mean. Yes. Okay, Maron, we squashed that. William jumps in. It's amazing. William Wellborn. It's fantastic. And so all of this stuff factors, by the way, into... see, it's so hard to show these paintings sometimes. All of this stuff factors into the way my female lead is illustrated in Nosfero the Crypt Walker. Guys, just 19 days left. I got the date wrong on this stream, so if you haven't backed it yet, back it once, back it twice. It's great. Odin, I'm willing to go there. And by the way, Odin, I haven't seen you in ages. It's great to see you, my friend. How are you doing? And yes, I own that movie too. Really interesting story. They should remake that with a better title. For sure. Oh, we got a member chat. Helsing Abridged. I got to get to this, and then I'm going to get to my next question here. You guys are awesome. Mark's Music Obsession celebrates 12 months a year. Oh, man. Congratulations. Celebrating 12 months of membership. Man, I hate the work stuff interfering with the fun stuff. We are good here, Sean. The storm missed me to the east. Thank God. And so let me just say, and yes, there's the link to the second chance. Mr. Monkey Boy 1969 goes, I've seen this book. I hear it's good. I hear it's good too. And thank God for that. So here we go. Here are the first cheerleaders of this stream. And these are the new and improved Waffle Lodge of Horror cheerleaders. So brace yourself. There's scary stuff coming up. Here you go. When we get super chats and member chats, this is what you're going to see. I don't know. It's scary. It's scary. Oh, now the member chats are flowing like wine, women, and song. Tammy D celebrating 1 year and 1 month. Congratulations of membership. Well, look at that. I beat you, Mark. Just kidding. Much love to all. Well, listen, Tammy D. That is fantastic. And we have got to celebrate you with another scary cheerleader, folks. Look for all of the hidden clues in this. It's a pretty scary one. Booyah. Oh my gosh. Stephen Rockwood Drawing celebrating 23 months, the first channel member. That's how I know how long I've offered memberships, because Stephen Rockwood has been a member for every month. And he says, titties. Boobs. Well said, my friend. Brace yourselves. More scariness. I'm feeling this is going to turn into a run now. And it's great to see you, Odin, my friend. It's great to have you here. And of course, I've got one more here I've got to celebrate. Hot on the heels of Stephen Rockwood, we've got Cranberry Lander celebrating 22 months of membership with some outstanding emojis for this Halloween season. And here we go. One more Halloween thing, I think. Look at all these milestones, guys. And if you want your name in the credits of this show, and if you want to be a part of the Crypt Walker crew, by all means, supporting this channel is what buys paints and what makes all of the stuff that I do possible. And I couldn't do it without you, and I couldn't do it without my channel members in particular. So thank you guys who have been supporting this show and supporting everything I do on this channel. So, okay, so now that we've gotten our general ideas of Dracula-related stuff and where everybody falls in terms of their Dracula stuff, here's something I didn't know until I first read the novel, outside of the fact of that all of Dracula's most romantic parts at the end of Bram Stoker's Dracula were lines that were delivered by the good guys and by a dying Quincy, not by a dying Dracula. So they took away Quincy's part, gave it to Dracula. And it was this. Oh, yeah, it better be in the credits, Son of Liberty Radio. It darn well better. I think I saw it pasted in there. Late night? Yeah, it was a late night. I'm still going, Dale A. I'm still going. Yeah, I know it's not late night, really, but I've lost track of time. So I thought, hey, let's do it. So here's the thing. When Lucy is eventually finished off by the vampire, her mother is keeping watch over her and trying to keep her safe. And the way that they find Lucy is she's written a note as she has been attacked, saying what happened to her and that her mother is found dead next to her. So you never think about when you're watching these movies, and people could say, well, they have to cut certain characters out for time. That's not a character who has a lot of screen time. This is a character in the background. You don't need, much to introduce them. You just have them in the background. But it highlights how young Lucy is in many ways, and the loss of that, the loss of her life, but also that her mother's killed. Dracula's body count in a lot of ways is a little different and a little worse. And so there's so much of the story that is missing. And these are two, one of them is a small event, but the fact that Quincy isn't the central, tragic, but romantic, heroic figure of the story. The fact that Jonathan Harker and Mina's romance is contextualized by the romance between the tragic romance between Lucy and her fiance, let alone the two other men who cared about her deeply, and of course Van Helsing, who cared about her like a father figure and was trying to save her life. These are things where you get to the end of the novel and they go, I wish I had the book I could grab. Well, actually, it's right there. Can I reach it? Can I reach it with my chubby self? I don't think I can get there, guys. But when they get to, I'm going to make it happen somehow. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to knock a bunch of stuff over. Oh my God. Nope. Just grabbed the wrong book. Tragic. One more try. Can we get it? I think we got it. All right. So, yeah, he's a stealer of life in a couple of ways, and he is a violent, somewhat repugnant creature. But you've got all these diary entries that are a lot like the diary entries in Frankenstein. You've got, it's an interesting part of the horror storytelling dynamic. And it really talks about combination of science, combination of, old world, religious ideas of good and evil, because the vampire is very tied to the Judeo-Christian, culture. It's an essential part, particularly in this telling of the vampire. I don't mean in terms of all vampire stories everywhere, although I think they kind of are in the Philippines as well with the Manananggal. But it's, the part where Quincy's final words happen are so beautiful because as he's dying, Mina has got this burn on her forehead from the Eucharist, which is actually in Coppola's movie. And here it is. Here we go. I'll put it right here so some of you guys can maybe read along if you wish to. Mr. Morris, who had sunk to the ground, leaned on his elbow, holding his hand pressed to his side, the blood still gushing through his fingers. I flew to him, for the holy circle did not now keep me back. So did the two doctors. Jonathan knelt beside him, and the wounded man laid back his head on his shoulder. With a sigh he took, with a feeble effort, my hand in that of his own, which was unstained. He must have seen the anguish of my heart in my face, for he smiled at me and said, this is Quincy dying. He smiled at him and said, I am only too happy to have been of service. And then, oh God, he cried suddenly, struggling to a sitting posture and pointing to me. This is Mina saying he was pointing to me. I can't, this is so beautiful. It was worth this to die. Look. The sun was now right upon upon the mountaintop, and the red gleams fell upon my face, so that it was bathed in rosy light. With one impulse the men sank to their knees, and a deep and earnest Amen broke from all of their eyes, and their eyes followed the pointing of his. They followed the pointing of his finger, as the dying man spoke. "Now God be thanked, and all has not been in vain. See, the snow is not more stainless than her forehead. The curse has passed away, and to our bitter grief, with a smile and in silence, he died, a gallant gentleman." Nosfero the Crypt Walker. The link is in the description. If that's the kind of stuff that makes your heart sing, if that's the kind of storytelling you want to finance, become a channel member, back the book, and help me get the word out as you guys have been doing. And it feels almost like too much to even ask that sometimes, because I appreciate so much what you guys have done for me. But that's the stuff that matters to me. The idea of the gallant gentleman, of him looking at her and saying it was worth my life to see this curse lifted. And it's even more beautiful when you get to 7 years ago, we all went through the flames and the happiness of some of us. 7 years ago, we all went through the flames, and the happiness of some of us since then is, we think, well worth the pain we endured. It is an added joy to Mina and to me that our boy's birth. I forgot about this. That our boy's birthday is the same day as that on which Quincy Morris died. His mother holds, I know, the secret belief that some of our brave friend's spirit has passed into him. His bundle of names link all of our little band of men together, but we call him Quincy. I mean, do you guys know what I'm talking about? This is what it's worth. You know what, Shanth? I think maybe I'm going to back those. Fine, please do, Stephen Rockwood. I might even subscribe to the channel. I mean, I'm begging you, man. It's beautiful, Spaceman. Yes. Yes, it does. It's such an affecting part of the story that you see the light. Like, I'm going to tell you guys this, and this is what this is. You have to have lived some kind of life to write anything worth reading, and if you want to write anything that's good and filled with hope, you have to have been brought to your knees in your life and fought your way back up, or been brought to your knees only to be humble and ask for help. You know, that's the thing that's amazing to me. And when I see my son laugh, and he makes a particular smile that reminds me of my late father-in-law, Lauren's wonderful, magnificent, gallant gentleman of a father. When I see that, the glimpses of that on my son's face, I know what they're talking about. I know what they're talking about. You know? And that's the stuff where you realize what art can be about. It can be about many things, but it being about that sometimes is amazing. Oh, really? Oh my gosh, that sounds really cool. Love Lovecraft stuff. Yeah, it's very beautiful stuff. It's very poignant stuff. So that's the thing to me that that's what I'm going for with Nosfero. That's why I want people to get excited about it, and that's why I feel confident telling people, recommend it to your friends, get the word out about this book, because it's I don't know if everybody, you know, can ever get any piece of artwork or whatever, and I'm not, who's to say that with anything that it's like it's just that people don't get it, you know, it's got to be something that works and all of that kind of thing. But I feel very comfortable that my years of experience in terms of, you know, obviously thinking about story and learning how to paint and to make all of this work that I do, but it's, as a storyteller, it's a story that for me was worth telling in this incredibly meticulous way. And I thank you guys so much for supporting it, man. Oh, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is fantastic. So, yeah, we can always talk about it. Firemen, soldiers, cops, Marines, etc. leave room for life to flourish. And that, of course, brings me to something that's in the thumbnail that I haven't brought up yet, but that I discovered and learned about this week. So there is a gentleman from Boston, Massachusetts, or from the Boston area, who has a channel, and I reached out to him to tell him how much I enjoyed his channel this past, actually yesterday, I think it was. And he goes around, he loves to celebrate and document Halloween in Salem, which is right near where I used to work. And so he goes around and talks to people. He has a great time. He goes to horror conventions up in my neck of the woods. In fact, a few that I may have to think about just going to as a fan to enjoy, because I really do want to start getting out and doing more things, because I need it. I feel like we need some adventures every now and again. And it's, but he has this really fantastic channel, and it's Derek Millen is his channel. And if you haven't seen it, and I don't think I put the link there, but I put it in the thumbnail, and I had it earlier in the chat. Let me see if I can get this for you guys. But I would love it for you guys to subscribe, to comment on his where the heck is it? That's interesting. Oh, Derek, not David. Why am I typing David? Derek. There we go. Derek Millen, not David. Derek Millen, and he's got a YouTube channel that is, if you're looking for something to do and celebrate Halloween and all of that stuff, it is a great channel to go check out. And there is the link to his channel. Subscribe. Tell him Shanth sent you. Make some comments. His channel is doing really well. It's blowing up. A lot of people are seeing it in a lot of ways, like what the Grim Life Collective are doing. But yeah, I mean, Bram Stoker's Dracula, reading that and talking about all of this, what I wanted to share with you guys, that as adapted as that book has been, as many times as people have taken a run at it, nobody has ever really covered one of those, some of the biggest central aspects of the story, or the meaning of the story. And that's kind of my job. You know, my job as an artist is, even though I'm not, doing a Frankenstein story, I am doing a story that is a child of Bram Stoker's brilliant work. And I think that that's, very important to me, that I reach back to the original works themselves for what made them great. And I was stunned at how many examples of heroism and beauty, and the book is way beyond what a single adaptation could ever possibly hope to do. And you start realizing that Dracula is not this romantic figure, and he's always had, yes, of course, people have always sort of found romance in the bad guy, 100%. There's always that little element, but there are romantic, gallant gentlemen in that story too that captivated the audience originally, and we wouldn't even have any of these movies or adaptations if it wasn't for it. So I tend to think that that is one of the things that maybe the Hammer movies have done far superior to anything else, which they emphasized Van Helsing as the hero. But yeah, that's something that's beautiful to me. So I hope you guys will check it out. I used to work at a college that was right near Salem, Massachusetts, so I went there all the time with my family. Good pasta and chicken. Ooh, that sounds good. Sounds great. Awesome one. So let me see here. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats. It's officially spooky season. Yes, it is October 1st. Yeah, man, I'm excited about it, guys. So also, in addition to all of that, so do check out Derek Millen's channel. Do leave a comment on one of his videos. Say, hey, Shanth and Jetty sent me here. Good stuff. But if you want to know what it's like in north of me by about 90 miles, and what it's like in spooky season here, and you're looking for something to chill out to, this is one of my favorite types of YouTubers. Outside of people who do painted stuff and drawing stuff or art stuff in front of you, or even leather bookbinding or whatever the heck else, I love watching skill stuff. But some of my favorite YouTube stuff to watch are people who get out from behind their desk, and I'm not throwing stones in that glass house, and actually take you on adventures and places and introduce you to places you might not go or might not ever be able to get to. And that's what's so cool about it. And I love those kinds of channels, and he's got a great one. Death Machine was one of those weird B movies with a unique concept. You can program a robot to hunt by anything. Screamers used heartbeats, Terminator's facial recognition, Death Machine targets fear. Yes. Yeah, there's so many great ways to attack this type of genre, man. I mean, it's like, what would happen for me, the thing that made Nosfero make sense came to me as I was working on it. It came to me as I was kind of putting the thing together, and that was, of course, what would happen if Vampire found a boy who, for all intents and purposes, just to keep it in the comic book conversation, had a healing factor. So, and they captured him and held him prisoner so that they could just feed on him every single day without ever having to go out and hunt. Basically, lazily living off of this poor, unfortunate soul, for lack of a better way of putting it. And so in a sense, his origin story is a little bit like that of Prometheus in an interesting way. And so his origin story is very much about, I cannot get free of this, and these people can feast on me forever. And they make a critical mistake. They use evil mystical powers to try to open up a doorway in Nosfero's mind. Like, use him as a gate, his body as a gate, to open a doorway. And unfortunately for them, the purity of what he's about doesn't do what it would do if you did it on somebody who was evil, or somebody who was weak in their sense of hope and their sense of faith and all of those kinds of things. And so they end up opening a door to their undoing and turning him into this incredibly unstoppable, powerful character whose blood for them now is like that of being almost like holy water. If they attempt to drink from him, and some are still drinking from him when this change occurs, they will basically have holy water inside of their veins, and they will be done for. So it's fascinating to me to make a character. In a lot of ways, it's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot. Nosfero's blood is a little bit like if you shoot an alien and you get its blood on you when you're a vampire, you're doomed. That's how they kind of view him. They're like, we got to take this guy down, but we can't be anywhere near him when he's taken down. So, and it's tough to take him down because he's got a healing factor. So that's what's crazy. Oh, lovers of biscuits and gravy chicken and fried steak is who they track. Yes, indeed. And I love that 100%. So yeah, that's the essential part of Nosfero, is that in their hubris to try to change him and try to, destroy him, they've already taken everything from this kid. And you'd think they couldn't do more to him, but they're like, you know what, let's see if we can use him for something else, too. And that's what happens. If they had just let him alone and kept him trapped there, if they had just let their evil ambitions be lazy, but no, that's not how it works with these people. And so their own interest in always taking more and more and more, what does that sound like? More and more and more from those around them is what ends up being their undoing. They have that one more thing. Can we get one more thing from this person? Taking everything from him. Let's take one more thing. And that's a theme that I think is really resonates with me in a story, is showing how these folks get themselves into trouble. It's always trying to take things a little too far. Yeah, you would probably be tracked down first. I think I would be. There's no doubt about it. You're being attacked by some ungodly monstrosity when suddenly it freezes in its tracks and then flees. That's right. Did he just need a sandwich like John? Yes, he did. He just wanted a sandwich. And by the way, that was justified. Sounds like, yeah, you said it. Yeah, it's very much about that. It's the story is, and not intentionally, but it's just that is the mentality that's behind it. The living off of life and the parasitic, nature of the vampire. The vampire isn't very interesting to me if it's not a parasite, which is how it's described. If it's not feasting on life, and if it's not something that's evil. When it's something that's good or ambivalent or just like us, for me, and which is fine, there's stories like Underworld and all of that stuff, and there's stories I'm sure like Twilight and things like that too, that people read and get into that have their own take on the vampire. The take I want and what I'm trying to do with the vampire story is a little bit like what Van Helsing is in the novel of Dracula. He's the Professor Van Helsing who comes and says, there's a lot more to this lore that goes back. We've dropped all this part of the lore, and this vampire is coming from a time where there were lessons and things that we learned that we thought we didn't need anymore, but this evil never dies, and we have to go back and find ancient ways to fight it. That's what I'm trying to do with Nosfero. I'm going back to the source and going, we have an evil that's going on right now, and we need to go back to ancient lore and combine that with the technology we have right now, which is crowdfunding. And we need to fund, and we need to make these heroes fresh again, and we need to introduce people to heroism again. And it can't be done cynically. It can't be done using like a beat sheet. It can't be done, using a system. I mean, there's all that stuff is kind of got to be there, but you have to have a joke to tell, and you have to have a story to tell, and you have to have, you have to write for the audience. And that's the thing for me that I'm excited about, and that Bram Stoker did such a brilliant job with. I'd be a fool to ignore his work and do my spin on it when I'm approaching the vampire. And that's weird for me to say, because I'm not even doing a Dracula story. And I'm taking a lot of liberties with it, but I think I knew I could learn a lot about how he wrote heroes and how he viewed setting up a healthy dynamic between heroes and villains in his story. And so that's why we got what we have here. And we've got a lot of Lovecraft in here, a lot of ancient evil. I love painting in front of you guys, though. This is fun. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Hit the like if you do. Make sure you hit that like, and make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell, because that's everything. One of the best things that you guys can do, which you're under no obligation to do, is become a channel member or gift channel memberships. Because when you gift channel memberships, it gives notifications to more people. So anyone you gift a channel membership to, members get more notifications than other people do. So it's a wild thing, but when someone is a channel member, it helps them to get notified of what's happening on this channel, more so than almost anything else. And obviously, clicking on that bell works in the exact same way, but getting to the point to where you hear that, that's the tricky part, because people have to watch the stream to think to click the bell, and and if they're not getting notifications because they're not channel members and they haven't clicked the bell, it's hard to get the word out. But I think X is definitely helping with that. We've got 63 people watching right now in totality between X and YouTube, and right now on YouTube we have 27 people watching. So more than half of the folks watching this right now are on X. So that's the really cool thing about X, is it helps get the word out, and it helps get the streams out there to more people, because people follow you on X and then they see that you're streaming. X is really good about getting notifications to people when they're streaming, and that's really cool. That's a cool thing about X that I really like. Yeah, nonsense. The derailing is always active. 100%, yeah. I always used to say we can't see the rails from here. We're so far off track, man. Let's see. Yep, charcoal fingers, emo. There you go. Yeah, you guys know how it goes. Let me see what you guys are doing in the chat. Yeah. I loved that. That was great. Here we go. Lake Cump House in Bristol, Connecticut. Oldest operating amusement park started in 1846. I had no idea. Holy cow. There we go. We're getting the Nosfero going in the chat. He knows. Channel members know. They can put those custom emojis up. I'm trying to figure out how I can get those to show up here. But yeah, I mean, it's I love Halloween. I love this time of year. I love Dracula. I love Frankenstein, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of that stuff. But what I want to also try to do when I'm streaming this month is I want to highlight interesting YouTube content that deals with monsters and horror and the Halloween thing. So Derek Millen is my first of this season. And I also want to talk about comics and talk about why I do what I do with Nosfero, and why I'm going to do what I do with Springball. Springball was interesting. It had a Lovecraft connection to it, and a reference to Sentinel Hill, which is a part of the Dunwich Horror. It had a reference to that. Even back then in the early 2000s, I had a Lovecraft influence in my stuff. But the big thing that Lovecraft didn't do, and it wasn't his interest, it wasn't his primary focus, is Lovecraft never really created any compelling heroes, because it's tough to do heroes in horror. And so what I want Shanthan Jetty art to be is the home to horror's heroes. Say that 6 times fast. But that's the goal. There we go. Getting that rubble in there. Really want to get that rubble in there and make it look like it has great texture. Yeah, there's a 30% chance of that, I think. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a wild thing, because you guys know, and you've seen my work, I love, for those of you guys who got the art books and everything like that, you know that I love monsters, I love creatures, I love, the sort of the surreal. That's my Shape of Water piece, and I love, giant monsters fighting. I like kaiju, all of that stuff. And particularly when I did Rigor Mortrex, there was just a ton. And Rigor Mortrex, I'd forgotten what a big book this is. It's bigger than Autonomous Trex by a lot. But it was, it was monsters, it was, creatures, it was vampire, it was all of that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that I like. Yes, the home to horror's heroes. Say that 6 times fast. Yeah, I don't think I can. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to create creatures. I'm trying to create this world and give stuff that is really compelling and interesting. But I lean into the, how do we get a character that we identify with? For me, Blade was such a great example of that. The Crow, all with a totally different, agenda and purpose in terms of what he's doing. It's a lot more personal. But The Crow is a fantastic movie, the original, that stood the test of time. In some ways, I think it's just more narratively solid than the comic book. But it's a really great story, and that's what I'm interested in doing. It's difficult to do, but you could say Eric Draven is Edgar Allan Poe meets Dracula as a hero, which I never really thought of before now, but that's an aspect of it. But there's a lot of cool horror stuff that's going on right now. You've got Graham Nolan's Monster Island and Joe Frankenstein. You've got Wraith of God. You've got all of these books where people are exploring these kinds of themes and trying to address this kind of stuff, or not even address stuff, but just to write compelling stories about heroes fighting monsters. And for me, the aspect of faith that's in the original Dracula movie is what's missing in pop culture today. And it's hard to do it in a way that isn't when people hear that, it's strange to me. People hear that, their reaction tends to be, oh man, am I gonna, what's the book gonna be? Am I gonna get preached to? Am I gonna get this? And I always think, when you go and watch movies that deal with evil characters or villain characters, people don't have the same concern. And it's not that that's even an aspect of the book. You have to tell a story that somebody wants to read. Yes, indeed. Rest in peace, Chris Christopherson, 100%. Yes, absolutely it is. And yeah, rest in peace, Pete Rose as well. And it's, interestingly seeing the love for the horror genre in CG. Yeah, and everybody's got a different angle on it. Everybody's got a different take. Like, Nosfero, in just book 1, you get a really good understanding of his relationship and his deep affection for the characters. Like, I was kind of, it was an exciting part of writing Nosfero, making all of the relationships come alive and have them come alive in a way to where all the parts fit together. You understand from seeing Amun al-Hazred, who's like the classic, Lovecraftian, villain, that he doesn't really care what happens to the people that he works with. He sees them as assets and chess pieces, but if he loses a few of them, he's going to be fine. Whereas there's this immediate sense when Nosfero meets Laurel, and when Greylock meets Laurel, or when Laurel meets Greylock, it's that they all realize that they each have value, and nobody wants to lose a member of the team. And that's what I believe in. That's what I want to be around. I want to be around. There's that great quote. And I think I have it over. Is it over there? I love that it's over there, but it's upside down. Hang on a second. I gotta grab it because this drives me nuts. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Here we go. Here we go. So, this quote right here is one of my favorite ones. I feel like Mikey and Goonies just now. Or not Mikey, Mouth and Goonies. This one right here. The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Epictetus, who was born a Greek slave and became one of the most important philosophers in all of Rome and a huge influence on Marcus Aurelius. That's the stuff that I think is important. The people who back my books and the people who are in Comicsgate, man, they're so important, and they're so, and I know you guys, a lot of you guys are, and you know what I mean. But it's, for me, doing this book was not something I was going to do if I didn't have something I believed in, because I really do believe in what we're doing here, and I do believe that it's important for the culture, and it's important to stand up and take the risks of putting stuff out there, and all the work that's involved, and you guys appreciate that. I mean, when you guys become channel members, when you guys support us in any shape, form, or fashion, when you back the books, when you help get the word out, that's the stuff that makes this stuff possible. It doesn't run on fairy dust, as I know you guys know, but it definitely has a hearty ingredient of help from folks that are supportive, but also optimism and hope and faith. That's a huge part of it. That's what art sort of needs to live, and you guys are a big part of that, so I thank you. Let me see here. Oh, I just heard my wife cough. The missus has been under the weather today. Got a bad cough. There's something going around, I guess. There we go. So now those stones are starting to kind of come together. Sammy predicts Walls will play the Nutcracker and dance the tune of the Communist Coin. Dance the tune of the Communist Coin, yeah. Ever watched John Cusack Raven? No, I have not, actually. That sounds really interesting. Yeah, I'd love to check that out. Yeah, I love Edgar Allan Poe is very different to me, but I do enjoy listening to his work. I listen to audiobooks of his stuff, and it's depending on the reader, but it's really great and accessible. I'm just much more of a... It's a strange thing, because I'm much more of a Lovecraft fan, but since Lovecraft was so much of a Poe fan, I feel like, I gotta go find what's doing in there. When I got the Solomon Kane collection, which was amazing, and it's a great collection. When I got that collection, the thing that kind of amazed me about it was I didn't know that it included a letter by H.P. Lovecraft eulogizing Poe, and I went, wow. Talk about worlds coming together. Yeah. Bow to Mrs. and Jenny, get better soon. Oh, thank you guys. They're saying get better soon, hon. And she coughed out a thank you, I think. Yeah, toss a coin to your Witcher. Yeah, that's right. John, I'm predicting I have to stop chatting soon because dishes to do. Yep, we know that one, man. We know that one. So yeah, it's wild stuff, man. We're making it happen, guys. And I think that's, for me, the fun thing is that, I get to paint this stuff and put this stuff together. I have the opportunity to paint this stuff, get it together, and get it in front of people. And if we can all do that on some level, we can actually affect things. We can actually change things here for the better. We can offer up heroism, and it's a strange thing because, again, much like in Dracula, the forces that are allied against us are very determined to put out stories that just tell people, there's no point, why bother? But you see glimpses of it all around you, of people helping people and people who are doing the right thing. There are Quincy's amongst us, and there are stories that are going to be honoring that kind of history and that tradition of heroism and humanity. There we go. Now that's starting to come together. Now, I couldn't begin to tell you why I picked the colors there. There you go. Thank you. Yes, exactly right. That's right. Let me see. We need you to keep Shanth comfortable. Yes, exactly. We do need Mrs. and Jenny to keep me comfortable, hopefully. Yes, indeed. Ferris Comics, how are you doing, man? It's great to see you. I hope you are having a good one. Yeah, we've been talking all manner of things, from the brilliance of Dracula to one of my newfound favorite YouTube channels, channel of a guy named Derek Millen. And Derek Millen has a channel where he goes around Salem, Massachusetts, all these different locations, and he horror conventions in Connecticut and New Hampshire and these various places, and just films what he sees there and shows artists and introduces you to friends he's met as a part of that whole horror space up here. And I love seeing people who are passionate about things. I think he's he works as in a police department as a emergency dispatcher. So he's got a really interesting life outside of it, but he makes time because horror is his passion, to go to conventions, do all that kind of stuff. So he's somebody that it was a joy to watch because he's so positive and enthusiastic about the stuff he does. Everybody's saying hello to Ferris Comics. I love seeing it, guys. Excellent. Yeah, man. So if you haven't subscribed to his channel, or you've never heard of it, and you're interested in that kind of stuff, he's a good dude. Tell him Sean sent you. What a hara. What a holla. Yeah, there's that out there too. Delicious, guys. So how are you guys doing? What's happening in your neck of the woods? I was checking in on all my North Carolina people. I know Shane, it missed Shane, thank God. So he got weather, obviously, but he's okay. And I've got, my son is not in that particular part of Florida, so I think he got severe rain, and they just sort of did the canceled classes thing. But I know some of you guys have family and friends in that area. I hope everybody's okay and accounted for, because it was a mess. It was a straight-up mess. Let's see here. There we go. So I had originally thought of this idea of having this one panel more deliberately bleed into the other, but there were issues with how the scale would work if that was the case. And so I decided to kind of abandon it because it just didn't work. And I really thought to myself when I was working on it that I just want to make sure that whenever I'm doing these layouts, I don't push it so far that it interferes with what I want to convey with the story. Because I want to push things a little bit to make these, beautiful paintings in their own right, but I still need them to hang together as pages of a book. And so that's been kind of a fun part of what I'm doing right here. It's just, I like the challenge of it. I like the challenge of the storytelling, and I like the challenge. Like, I keep coming up with, now that I'm past this first book, man, was this first book difficult. I feel so much more comfortable going into book 2, and it's the same thing with Spring Ball. Oh, I'd watch The Exorcist tonight, but don't want my pants. Yeah, that's a good one right there. Seems FEMA has found a new mission as they are... No, oh, God. Yep. I'm drinking a Frappuccino. Well, that'll keep you up. That's a good thing. What's up, Nordic Nerd? How are you doing? And he's saying hello to John and Kramer Langers. It's great to see you, my friend. The link to my book, Nosfero, of which these are some paintings, and this is the book. If you haven't already backed it, is pinned in the chat. Go check it out. Go give it a look and back it if you feel inspired to do so. We have to just do the layout and design for the book, but since it's a new edition of the book, there's an art edition and then a new second edition of the book. The artwork is more or less done, except for this one special illustration I'm doing for it. So check it out if you're interested in that kind of thing. But yeah, guys, there are moments in this book where I just have to smile at at some of the little character moments that happen in here. And I know, for those of you guys who haven't, I hope you've enjoyed those and are enjoying flipping through the work and have taken a look at it. If you haven't taken a look at it in a while, take it out again, take a look at it. I want you guys to make sure, you enjoy it and get a kick out of it, because that's the cool thing about books is, for me, like Dracula. Like when I grabbed Dracula from over there just before and I was reading that passage, I like to revisit books that are really good and influential on my work. Shoot, if I had a nickel for every time I've listened to the Dunwich Horror, I would be a very wealthy man. The Dunwich Horror audiobook, and I forget the gentleman who reads it, but he's fantastic. I love that story. It's my favorite Lovecraft story. It's just such a dark and, brooding kind of story. I feel as though... Hold on a second. I want to try something real quick. Did I do it with... Which camera did I just do that with? Let me see if I can... I want to try the manual focus and see if I can get something a little bit stronger there. Now I'm going to try to zoom in, because I want to see what happens when that's a better view, when I adjust the focus from up close. I feel like I need a camera crew sometimes to do this work. Let me go to the gamma there. Do I adjust the brightness just a little bit? Adjust the saturation. No, saturation seems about right. Always tough to get the best picture quality I can get for you guys, but I think that's close right there. But this is what we're telling stories about. Diaphanous nightgowns, Lovecraftian creatures, and very Robert E. Howard inspired heroes. Let me see if I've got everybody who's here. All right, let's see. Watch the Dunwich Horror with Dean Stockwell. It was something. It was something. So Mrs. Ingetti and I watched that the other night. I got the Blu-ray, and holy cats, did that movie shave years off of my life. What? I got to the end of that. I was like, what did I just watch? What on earth did I just watch? Holy cow. It's so funny because it's 1 year away from Twins of Evil, actually, incidentally. A movie I'm referencing right now because my diaphanous nightgowns owe themselves to Hammer horror films. But it's like, my God, that movie, it's like the most, there's elements of it that are crazy and fun and experimental, but it's so joyless in so many scenes. It was so difficult to get through. Like Hammer, of course, has a little bit of sexiness and a little bit of blood and drama, but that it's kind of weird. It's like a Hammer movie devoid of joy and bleakness, and it's just all bleak, and some of the acting is just painful in it. Like Dean Stockwell, I know he can act. At least he can act now. But in that movie, it was horrendous, man. And there's this sequence, guys, if you've never seen this movie, do not pay money for it, by the way. Like, it's on Tubi, I think. But it's, unless you're going to study the thing. That movie has a sequence where a character takes off his shirt and he has all of this supposedly ancient writing on him, and it looks like it was code devised by a fourth grader. Like, I wouldn't have been more shocked if he had opened up a shirt and was just emojis on his chest. I was like, holy cow. You know? It was just crazy. Oh, there was another Dunwich horror with Jeffrey Combs and Dean Stockwell. I don't know if it's a remake or a sequel. It's all on Tubi. Yes, I think that's the one. The one I'm talking about is the Dean Stockwell one, and that was something. Take care, Sammy. We will see you soon. But yeah, that was. Graham's gonna. I got it and I watched it because Graham's gonna be talking about it on his channel, and he said, "Hey, if there's a movie you want to pop on for, and you're free on one of these days, you know, you can pop on and talk about it." And I thought, well, I'm a huge Lovecraft fan, so I know it's horrible. Lovecraft fans, many say it's horrible. I've seen some appraisals of it that they're like, it's actually really interesting, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's terrible. God almighty. But anyway, but he was, so I thought I would check it out. My wife and I watched it, and I don't think in a good way, but I said to her, I go, I'm sorry I made you watch that movie last night. She goes, I'm still thinking about it. What the heck was that? Oh my Lord. Ugh. It was something. Of all the movies I have seen, it is far and away the most recent. That's what I will say. Oh my stars. That was something. That really was the definition of something. Let me see here. Ciao, comrade. Everybody's saying goodbye. Yeah. It's a movie. It definitely is a movie that has movie things to it. That much I can tell you for sure. Why it is the way it is, I have no idea. For the life of me. I was like they're just, oh my Lord. It is basically it's like an not intentionally, but it's like an anti-Hammer film. It's really weird. I just kept watching it and going, because I know the story really well, and there were actually some moments in it where they directly quoted Lovecraft, but the fact that that some critics at the time were saying, it's one of the more faithful adaptations of Lovecraft and one of the few movies to attempt it. I don't think that it's because Lovecraft's work is so difficult to make a movie out of. I think it's that it seems like that only falls into the hands of really terrible filmmakers, or filmmakers who are seeing something in Lovecraft that I don't even know what they're seeing. It's like they're oh God, it's so weird, guys. It was such a weird movie. Like, I can picture Lovecraft in my head, and obviously I picture it on the pages of Nosfero without going into strobe lights and migraine-inducing strobe lights. It's really weird. And and you can do a movie where you don't show the creature. That's not as painful. Graham Nolan, the Graham Nolan, creator of Bane of Batman, yes, and who's launching, I believe, Monster Island 3 soon. And by the way, speaking of Graham Nolan, and send my best to Mr. Nolan, my brother Monster Kid. I received these in the mail today. Monster Island and Return to Monster Island by the great Graham Nolan. And I'm looking forward to tearing into these and reading these. This is going to be a blast. So yeah, guys, if you have not checked out Graham Nolan's incredible amount of horror output, do check it out. A good dude and a fellow Monster Kid and artist, and nothing but good things to say about Graham. Nice guy. I'm sure you guys know that, though. If you've ever met Graham, he's a true blue fan of the media and a true blue horror fan. So yeah, great stuff. But this is I'm so excited about this page now. It's starting to come together. For the lack of a better term, the woke crowd takes all the wrong emphasis and lessons. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say something like the feeling of hopelessness. They'd say mental health. Yes, exactly. Oh, haven't read them yet. Yeah, they're very cool. Yeah, here's the problem with it. It's terrible advice. It's advice that we know from, the history of, starting certainly with the treatment of shell shock following World War I, that we know are unhealthy ways of treating things, that we actually are just natural behaviors that are bad. I'll give you a really good example. That if you are suffering from trauma or any particular difficult thing, that the healthy thing to do is avoid it. Lean into your agoraphobia is what they would say. Avoid your triggers. Have a trigger warning. Unfortunately, in order for someone to avoid everything that makes them uncomfortable and then have a society of people avoiding everything that makes them uncomfortable, nothing can happen. Nobody can do anything because everything makes somebody uncomfortable. And what you do is you trap people in their neuroses. And you can't do that. It doesn't mean you have to go out there and just try to be the person who pushes somebody over the edge. But these are people who are self-diagnosing in many instances. And sometimes, what's the word I'm looking for? If you want to know, sometimes the reason why things aren't working or the reason why a particular way of trying to solve problems doesn't work is a fairly obvious one. And teaching people to do things that doesn't work is a terrible idea. So when people ask me, I think we were talking about this last stream, someone was asking, critical thinking, and a new name I don't even recognize, 5 pounds, critical thinking. It's great to have you here. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate it. Let me send some scary, spooky season cheerleaders your way. This is for you. Has anybody noticed that I photoshopped tombstones outside the window? If you missed it, take a look for it. So thank you so much, Critical Thinking. I appreciate you, and well done, my friend. I was looking to see if you had anything I needed to respond to, but yeah. It's a crazy thing because the thing that has always made artists be able to be successful, and shocker, that makes everybody valuable, are having skills. That's it. Having skill is incredibly important. And when we started de-skilling people and saying, the way to become an artist is not to learn how to do things, but it's to think things. And one of the things that they used to teach us when I was a student that I made a conscious effort to actually say the opposite of, I would tell students, this is the worst advice you can get. They would tell us the following when I was an art school student, and it's their way of how they downplay skill. They would say, everybody can learn how to draw and paint accurately. Okay. But what makes an artist is artists have ideas. And what I used to say to my students is, I heard that my entire education. Let me tell you what I've learned. Everybody has ideas. What makes an artist unique is that they can do something with them. They've honed those skills to do something with them. That's so important. Oh my gosh, let me see here. Son of Liberty Radio, my glasses are falling down. I apologize. So glance at your X message. You'll dig it. Okay, I know I will. Let me send a cheerleader your way too. By the by. And thank you for $2 super chat. I appreciate it. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to it. Let me see what I can find here. Dun, dun, dun. Let me see. Oh, very nice. So I see that the first image you sent me is part of a series, Son of Liberty Radio. Would you care to let people in the chat know what you just sent me? I would share it, but I'm worried things are going to crash. Shanth, now the longer... shoot, where is it? Darn it, it just jumped again. Shanth, now the longer messages are being cut... Oh, sorry. Let me try that one more time. Let me put this on screen. Is there a way to adjust the... There we go. All right, so now you can see it, but I got to figure out why it's... may have to adjust that a little bit. But anyway, at least we have that. There we go. Pineapple on pizza. Oh my gosh, it's descending into madness here. It's descending into... Yeah, it's not pineapple on pizza. That is horror. That's absolutely true. Son of Liberty Radio, anyone can be a draftsman, but to be an artist that inspires requires the ability to create emotive art. You're right, and that is... You've got it 100%. And here is the crazy thing. And I don't know, let me know if you're with me on this, Son of Liberty Radio, but this is something I would say to my students regularly, that art has never been a separate thing. An artist is somebody who takes a craft, a skill that is hard to earn, and then takes it beyond just competency. then they're an artist. Ooh, that surgeon is an artist. Have you seen that fighter, man? His defensive work, that man's an artist in the ring, right? That's what that stuff means. That's what that stuff was meant to speak to. And yeah, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's such a weird thing, because I would say to my students, I go, if you only become a highly competent at your craft and you're never a, quote, artist by those definitions, you're still going to be a valuable service to people. But if you strive to be an artist and never learn craft, you're not going to be either. And that's the trickiest thing. That's the trickiest thing about it. So what Son of Liberty shared was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein starring Boris Karloff. So an adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, just like the Dracula one you showed the other stream. Fantastic. Fantastic work. And thank you, Son of Liberty Radio. I have played a video game that is Lovecraft themed, and they put a trigger warning on the game. The game is The Sinking City. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, right? That's another thing about it, right? Is that, how do I put this? That is such a weird thing to do, because we've had rating systems, we've had all of these different avenues. By the way, they don't seem to be making people less anxious and less neurotic, having more of these warning labels on things. But I remember what it was like, and it's still like, to just read something and realize that I don't have to read it, and that I can stop anytime, and then I have agency in my own life and all of that kind of thing. Now, nobody has total agency in their life in terms of, as we've seen with hurricanes, as we've seen with all of this stuff, natural disasters, those kinds of things. But certainly, telling people they have no agency in their life and they can't handle anything is a terrible strategy. And that's why I think the importance of heroes is, the bigger the obstacle, as you can see right here, that you put your heroes and your characters up against, they could overcome, the more it makes you feel like you could overcome things as well. You know, you see this planetoid-sized Death Star, you know, coming at planet, or one of the moons of Yavin. I don't know how it works. Sorry, guys. I've missed it. And this one guy in his ship with his team of people sacrifices everything to blow it up, and you think, oh man, look, we could do anything. You know, or it's a hobbit destroying the One Ring, that's the stuff that's great. And so if you walk into a horror movie or a horror convention unprepared to see horror, or if you walk into a Lovecraft anything and are easily, or even, you know, I don't even see, it's so bizarre to me. It's we have, and it's so funny because this slang expression is even old now, because it's not even my generation, but we've tried to nerf everything and things have gotten more dangerous. So what does that tell you? Teaching the lesson of the way to feel safe is to rid the world of everything that makes you uncomfortable or could be a threat to you. It's also the way to get rid of all your civil liberties and get rid of all of the joy in life. Craziness. Be right back. Need food. Understood. Yeah, K-pop stream last night turned into what is a professional artist. Really? Wow. Grandpa, tell me about them good old days. It's what it is. Michael Bancroft had to chime in on this. The value of art is not how much it costs or how little effort it requires. It's how much would you risk to be in the presence, in its presence. Guillermo del Toro. I think there's definitely something to be said for that. And you know I'm a Guillermo del Toro fan. Here's what I would say. When you step into a place like this, from theoretical security in another place, that's when you realize what are the things you value. And Nosfero is the book, and Comicsgate is the place that I was willing to step into, and that I have no regrets about stepping into, so that I could make this book. I wouldn't have done this with any other book. This is the book that I need to make. This is the stuff that I need to do. And this is the audience that I need to be around. And since I've been in this space, I found more and more people and made more and more, formed more and more relationships with people who have interests. And Michael is one of those folks that I've met in this space. And it's such a strange thing But you've got to be willing, in order to be an artist, in order to do this kind of thing, you can't have a choice. That's the first thing I would say. You can't have a choice. Like with so many things. Yep. Lifting weights puts stress on your muscles and causes pain. It helps you bear more weight, though. Exactly right. Makes you stronger, better to deal with more. Yes. Protecting feelings, but not people's well-being, as we all need just a rebuke for one thing or another so we can grow. Yes. It's a very strange thing because I've known people who've done the opposite, but I would transfer out of classes where somebody would, look at me and just say everything I did was great and everything was perfect, because I'm not going to learn anything in here. All I'm going to do is put up work and get praised. I wanted to find teachers who could tell me, and also I didn't want to be in classrooms with teachers who would just go, it's wrong because I have this particular ideology against the work that you're doing. I wanted to be around people who go, oh, you want to draw attractive women? Well, that's cool. Those don't look right. Yours don't look right. The anatomy is wrong. Not, oh, I don't think you should be able to draw male or female figures in that kind of way or that situation, or what is the covert meaning, and you need to think about how, I or people of this ideology think about. No. That's the stuff that I fled and ran screaming from. And that's why I'm able to make the stuff I do now here in this place. That's what makes it all. Oh, wow, that was a trip. Didn't realize I could do that. But I should have done. There we go. I would also reword Benjamin Franklin's famous quote to reflect his historical record. Those who would yes, exactly. Those who would exchange liberty for safety will receive neither. You're absolutely right. Yup. I don't think it's just because it's a horror game, but the thing Lovecraft is racist or something like. Yeah. It's like, it's so funny. It's I was talking with someone about that, and I go, imagine. It's so strange. H.P. Lovecraft was a genius, full stop. And H.P. Lovecraft had expressed a lot of really racist ideas, but that is not, how do I put that? People try we got to separate art from art. No, you don't. And you got to just take a look in the mirror. People got to take a look in the mirror and realize they're human beings. It's like, here's what I always say. When it comes to H.P. Lovecraft, when it comes to any successful creator, people will try to compare their strengths to the other person's weakness. So congratulations if you're less racist than H.P. Lovecraft was. Are you a genius author? If not, being less racist than Lovecraft, if that's your claim to fame, that's a shame. Because that's a very bizarre bar to set for ourselves, right? It's ridiculous. And I just go, how do I, oh my gosh, I think it was Frank Frazetta's granddaughter who was talking about, or alluding to the fact that Frank Frazetta may have had the occasional affair on his wife Ellie, and that their marriage may not have been perfect, and they had huge fights and this and that. And I mean, she gave this really great stream where she was just talking about them as real people. It doesn't make me a better painter than Frank Frazetta. Never. Period. Anyone, it's insane. It's the weirdest thing that we do. And unfortunately, we let a lot of loathsome moral police or morality police deprive us of genuine talent and contributing forces, and then promote really oily, sick people whose work has had much less of an impact on other people's lives. And I watch that happen in the entertainment industry in Hollywood all the time, where they will overlook something absolutely despicable and then really lean on somebody who has done actually great work and done interesting things. So yeah, it's very, very subjective. My attitude is judge the work and what people do, and hold everybody accountable to the same freaking rules and laws that exist, not the, some extra legal attitude about how to do things. And that's really what the cancel culture thing is, and that's really what all this stuff is. But if you think that if you think it's appropriate to edit Mark Twain's work, then you don't understand Mark Twain. If you think it's appropriate to edit Shakespeare's work, if you think it's appropriate to edit movies, I'm painting off stream again, dang it. If you think it's appropriate to edit some genius filmmaker's work, then you don't understand that they're a genius and you're not. Like, who are these people to make these decisions for us? It drives me nuts. And they have the creepiest, most debaucherous lives. They absolutely do. I make fries, that's it. Let me tell you something. Fries are great. Had a dream last night about the bland, and anyone outside the bland were condemned. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we're watering things. Yeah, memory fails. We're talking Biden. My art at this moment in time is awful and has a pony ass emo. That's right. There we go. Memory fails. Yeah. I believe he said deserve. Yep. HP was a man of his time. Yeah. And he's a lot less scary to me than Margaret Sanger. And, yeah, she's got streets named after her, and people swear up and down that she was a saint. And, her beliefs had a lot more consequences than his when it comes to eugenics. So, yeah, I mean, and she would be one of the people that people like him were citing. And that's why I often say, you know, guys, look at how do I put this? The ability of somebody to critique a great artist in culture does not put them on the level of the artist they're critiquing. And just so everybody is clear about what I'm saying, is that it's like everybody has a right to have an opinion on whether or not they like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. If you don't like it, great. But if you don't understand it's a work of genius and that Mary Shelley was a genius, and the more research I've done, the more convinced I am that Mary Shelley, did her husband, of course he helped her edit it. That's what an editor would do. And yes, you can see things in his handwriting because he didn't have a Word document to type into or any of that other stuff. But that's totally her story, and I know this because I appreciate Percy Shelley, but that's not a story he would write or an idea he would even come up with. In a lot of ways, that story was about the failings of a man like Percy Shelley. I mean, I'm not saying at all, I don't believe in the auteur theory being dominant. I don't think that Victor Frankenstein was a stand-in for Percy Shelley and his lack of responsibility, or Mary Shelley's half-sister's father or her mother and her reckless behavior. Which, by the way, I'm going to talk about this during this month, guys, but I want you to notice this because it's pissing me off, okay? It really is driving me crazy. Hang on a second. You guys got me on a tear now. What the heck? It's my fault. It's not your fault, don't worry. Let me see here if I can find this. This has got me on a tear. Alrighty. So, every single place, if I can make this, if I can share this somehow, every single place that, is it showing? Now I've got to see if I can fit this on screen. Oh, I see what's happening. Hang on a second. Alrighty. Let me go to camera. That's not going to affect anything. And then, can I do a... Oh, maybe I can do it here. Hold on a second. That would be cool if I could. Video source. Oh, this is so annoying. Okay, well, here you go. Everywhere you see Mary Shelley mentioned, they say Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, and it is a uniquely, predominantly American thing. Mary Shelley's mom was a narcissistic, radical, depressive, loathsome individual, sorry to say, who was viewed by people who were on the extreme left. I forget what the name was for them, but they had a name for them at the time. And she was an absolutely scandalous and repugnant figure to the social norms of her time, but also in her conduct and the way that she looked the other way when her own ideals about certain, you know, like when the French Revolution was happening and everybody was being murdered, she was horrified that the kinds of ideas she talked about led to murder, and things she didn't agree with. And she was or that she thought were wrong, but she advocated for. She was such a disaster. She never knew Mary Shelley because she died 11 days after Mary Shelley was born. And Mary Shelley's name was Mary Godwin because she was the legitimate child, using the terms of the time, of her father, William Godwin. And William Godwin was the biggest influence on her. But because people want to tie Mary Shelley to feminism, which she was not a feminist, she was feminine, and she was an incredible woman, everywhere you see her name, it's Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. The original releases of the book were Mary Shelley. She signed her name Mary Shelley. She never signed her name like J.R.R. Tolkien. You get what I'm saying? She never did. It's a thing that they do to confuse and put this person and over her. Yes, that was her biological mother who she never knew. But it's so appalling to me that everywhere you go, if you go to her Wikipedia page, it shows her signature, and it was Mary Shelley. Her name is Mary Shelley. Stop confusing her with her mom. It really drives me freaking up the wall. You know? Exactly. That's right. If you're a minority of one, the truth is the truth. And you're right, critical thinking, yeah. It just makes me feel so frustrated when I see that, because I go, Mary Shelley was a great author. So let me tell you some things about Mary Shelley that her mother did not share, and even her husband Percy didn't share, that make Frankenstein her work. One, this is going to hurt some people, Mary Shelley was a Christian. And since she kept very detailed journals, which I read and continue to reread, she read the Bible a lot. And she was Christian. And she was surrounded by people who were atheists and were always trying to pressure her, some cases lovingly, but also under constant criticism, to give up her faith, which she never did. Do I think that that's the central aspect of her life? No, but it's a big one. And her father, William Godwin, deliberately said when asked, I've chosen not to raise Mary with any of the ideals that her mother professed. Because when he revealed her in a book he wrote that published her letters and her biography, everyone was just disgusted, and they felt like he had done a character attack on her when all he did was share her own words. Think about that. Yep. And these are the things. One word of truth outweighs the world. Absolutely right. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, 100%. Yeah. And so it's crazy. Yeah. Everyone that loves Lovecraft should read The Great God Pan by A. Matchett. Oh gosh, I can't remember pronounce his name. And The King in Yellow by R.W. Chambers. I will make sure to do that. Oh my gosh, Critical Thinking dropping another $5 super chat. What the heck? Critical Thinking, thank you so much. Let me send you a cheerleader, my friend. I salute you, sir. And here's the thing that gets me. And thank you, Critical Thinking. I salute you, sir. Here's the thing that gets me. And not for very little reason. And I gotta not show the last page of this. Okay, so the last page of Nosfero the Crypt Walker has or last page after the story ends has a Bible verse. The middle of the book has an H.P. Lovecraft quote from The Nameless City. The very last page of the book, inside the back cover, has a quote from Ayn Rand, an atheist. I didn't do this for effect. I did this because it speaks to the sources that I'm citing as I'm doing this book. One speaks to why I'm doing this book in particular. The other speaks to why I'm doing this book and also ties into the story. And then the other two quotes directly tie into the story and are also nods to that stuff that inspires me. Arthur Machen, are you saying, am I pronouncing that right or wrong? I'm not sure if I got that right. And Russ, it's great to see you, my friend. How are you doing? And thank you, Critical Thinker, again. So yeah, so this is the stuff that I don't know, man. It frustrates me because Mary Shelley is a genius. And by the way, Percy Shelley would have never written those ideas because he didn't believe in God. He didn't believe in accountability. Half of the things in that book are so antithetical, and it doesn't have any of the qualities of his writing. And I hate to say this, but Mary Shelley did other writing, but she maybe just had one good idea in her, and she exercised that, good. That's a gross understatement. She had one genius idea in her. But I gotta be honest with you, of the two of them, Mary Shelley is the titan. So if Percy Shelley wrote Frankenstein because he was such a genius, why doesn't he have a pop culture book that we all know? Not saying people who are interested in literature and literary scholars or poetry, but why doesn't he have all these works that we're absolutely obsessed with? Like Frankenstein stands alone. There's nothing like it in the entirety of his body of work. To me, it seems like it's pretty obvious that, like anybody would, an editor, he worked with her, but that was so her, down to the characters' names, like William, her father's name, or one of her half-brothers' names was William. Like, there's all these things that were taken from her life. And also, God almighty, did that woman experience loss. She was so unlike her mother in so many ways. And she really was around a lot of people who weren't particularly believers in things like true love. But she did. She did believe in things like that. And she's such a remarkable woman. And feminine. But there's no part of her that's feminist. It's just not. Like, only if you make the description looser. Her mother was. And she had the miserable life to sort of prove that. In terms of how things worked out for her. When you read her mother's biography, and you read about what kind of person she was, she had beliefs that never changed, no matter how many mistakes and how many horrible things they led to, including murdering revolutions. And I mean, oh my God, they were just terrible. Yeah, Mary Shelley is as close as you're going to find to a noble, lived a very noble life. She wasn't perfect. She started her relationship with Percy with a scandal and his wife committing suicide when he ran off to be with her. But again, she was young at the time, and I see a lot more of Percy in that. But, by the third time she lost a child, and she lost a child very early on before she wrote Frankenstein. Not saying that's connected. Not a big auteur theorist, but man, she's gone through some stuff. She's a woman of character, to put it mildly. A human, an artist of character. And yeah, if people don't like Frankenstein, more power to them. You are allowed to not like things that are good. If someone hands you the best peanut butter in the entire world that'll change your life, but you have a peanut allergy, it's best you not eat it. People don't have to like Lovecraft. People don't have to like all of these different things, but you have to appreciate the fruits of their labor. And Mary Shelley wrote such an exceptional book that it has adaptations that are canonical and iconic, as Son of Liberty Radio just shared with me. It's wild to pair some of the adaptations with the original work itself. That's how cool that stuff is. And H.P. Lovecraft is like that. H.P. Lovecraft is a bona fide genius. Yes, he kind of was. But here's the crazy thing about him, right? He was, she saw the qualities in him. She saw, and he was the man that she loved, and there's no arguing that. Like, reading her love letters to him when they were apart, you realize what a girly girl she was, what a feminine woman she was, and she is impressive in that regard. She loved Percy. She was heartbroken. Her and her friend, who both lost their husbands out at sea, or not at sea, but I guess, well, actually, no, it was at sea, actually. Or were they crossing a lake? I can't remember. But they both lost their husbands, didn't know it for 5 days, and then they got word and were devastated. And she fielded many proposals in the aftermath of her husband's passing, and she would always reject them with the same kind of thing, where she said, "My husband was a genius. Why would I settle for anything less?" Now that's a girl who was true to her fellow, that's for sure. But yeah, she was heartbroken by it, and she lost so many of her children that they had, and there were times when she went into just really dark places where it was just hard for her to come out and see the light. And you read this stuff in the journal. You read this with Percy's words. You read, just there's so much to learn. Like, you don't have to always go to, an intermediary, a scholar, to tell you what a person thought, especially when someone like Mary Shelley kept copious amounts of diary entries and notes. They're incredible to behold, and I've actually been pasting them into a documentary. Hey, Jimmy Reyes! Speaking of, there he is. It's great to see you, Jimmy. Jimmy, you're a mod. Put some stuff in the chat that we can promote, man. That would make me happy, brother, and I hope you're doing all right, man. Let me see here. Yes. Arthur Mitchin wrote the I feel like I know how to pronounce it, but I feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I can't remember how I pronounce that. The great god Pan, he and Algernon Blackwood, ancient sorceries inspired Lovecraft. Yes, and he quotes him at the beginning of Dunwich Horror, doesn't he? I think he quotes Algernon Blackwood at the start of the Dunwich Horror, where it's shoot. And I'm not going to reach to get my Lovecraft book because I will fall out of this chair. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. And hail King Jimmy Reyes. It's great to see you. And thank you, Russ. I do appreciate that. Put a lot of detail into that stuff. There we go. There's my man. 15 days left to back Dragon Rage. And do I have my Dragon Rage near me? Oh, Jimmy, I don't think I have it right near me. But I do have my copy here somewhere. Yes, there are 15 days left to back Dragon Rage. On Indiegogo, right there. Click that link. Back it if you like high fantasy and if you like all of the fun pulp conventions of beautiful girls, powerful warriors, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to love Dragon Rage. So go check it out and back that book. Miss E.M. Chance a Genius just saying, yes, there you go. From your lips to God's ears, my friend. Let me see here. Those around Mary Shelley were trying to change who she was and clout chasing. Yes. And the people around Mary Shelley were not strong enough to change her mind because she had a very strong one. And it's tragic to say all of this, to say this stuff because her half sister, which was her mother's first attempt to trap some guy into marriage by getting pregnant, and then that man wanted nothing to do with her, even though she chased him halfway around the world. He could care less. She then succeeded with William Godwin, only to have it revealed that she had an illegitimate child, which she had lied about. Like all of these things, this person was a real piece of work, and really brought a lot of suffering everywhere she went, honestly. But Mary Shelley's half sister had the same kind of tendencies that her mom had, and feeling very isolated, very alone later in life, in spite of Mary Shelley always trying to be supportive of her. Made the decision to exit stage left. And everybody, Percy they were all frantic to try to find her, but they just got there too late. And Jimmy Reyes, my pleasure, brother. My pleasure. Check out Dragon Rage. It's great. Well, I get to catch it a minute at least. I'm going to try to hang on as much as I can, Mark. It's great to have you here. So yeah, she's a person worthy of our respect. Mary Shelley is a person worthy of our respect. I read a biography. This is how twisted, and yes, Jimmy's Clip Studio tutorials, guys. If you're not subscribed to Jimmy's YouTube channel, click on his name and it will take you there. And please do subscribe. Yes, yeah, none of these people were great. William Godwin, at the very least, was caring. And then when she died, they were married less than a year too. I don't think I mentioned that part. So not only did she die 11 days after Mary Shelley was born, but William Godwin only knew her less than a year. When she was pregnant, they got married, and then she died, and he raised her daughter from this other guy, Mary, as a single father for a year, and then he married another woman with her kids, and then they had a son together. I mean, this dude, and he was terrible at business. Her father was absolutely a disaster at business. So here's the thing I actually read a biographer write. I mean, these are things that people who have a political axe to grind, right, that are so nauseating and just avoid any sense of, I think my Wi-Fi just went down. Let me check. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, hopefully I'm still there. You never know. Let me know in the chat. Give me a 1 if I'm still there. Because I feel like we just had a little bit of a blip. Okay, I'm still here. Good. So this is the thing that gets me about this, right? So this quote biographer, and I say this in the loosest sense because they clearly have a allergic reaction to fact. All right, thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Dale A. You guys are the best. I do appreciate you guys letting me know. You guys are great, man. Thank you so much. And thank you to all my subscribers and all you folks sending super chats today. It all makes it possible. So here's the thing that got me about this. This biographer went, Mary Shelley relationship with her father was damaged when she left to go be with Percy, because they always try to tie everything to some twisted Freudian mental illness that they have. And it was probably because he was uncomfortable with her awakening sexuality. Like this guy was some creep and that's why her and her father had some problem, which was never in any of the paperwork. Here's what happened. Percy Shelley, the guy she ran off with, came from a rich family. And he was so into funding causes that his family didn't want him to have his inheritance because they were afraid he would squander it on social justice causes. You can't make this stuff up. It's that funny. And one of his social justice causes was throwing money at Mary Shelley's dad. And around the time they got together, his family got so mad at him, he said, look, dude, I can't give you any more money. And that is why, when he found out that the man who had cut him off financially from funding all of his terrible business decisions, and he wasn't a bad guy, terrible in business, just not good at the money thing. It happens, but he wasn't an evil man. He was furious that she wanted to run off with and fell in love with a guy who had just cut him off financially, which the guy was a kid who was wealthy. It wasn't his responsibility to bail William Godwin out. That's how nuts it is. Oh my gosh, I celebrated it, Mark. 1 year, congratulations, my friend. And I had to play a cheerleader for you as a result. And so if you missed the cheerleader, I got to send one your way. So here you go. When you send a super chat or you become a channel member, or even better, if you gift a membership to somebody, gifting memberships is one of the best ways to help this channel, guys. And I thank you for it. You get one of these. So think about that, guys. And thank you, Mark. Rather than explain something that is so logical and so simple as why families fight, which is often because of money. There's a lot of fallings out. You may have heard of this. You may have seen it somewhere about with people over money and business relationships. They instead went this ludicrous route that is so common of men as evil predators that they took this guy who was such a feckless, God bless him, kind, feckless financial nincompoop who raised two daughters who lost their mother, one who wasn't even his. If he was guilty of anything, it was just not being good with money and financially. But he wasn't a bad guy. And they tried to make this weird portrait of Mary Shelley who adored her father, and it was painful for her. She was like, Dad, you can't keep asking me for money. You can't keep asking my husband for money. It was a rough situation. Family, right? She's such an interesting person. Jim tells you, it's good to see you, Shanth and Jetty Art. What's up, Shanth? I had a blast. Oh, I had a blast with you too, Jim. The other night on Shane's stream, it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. It was great hanging out with you, and it's great to see you here. Thank you, Jim. But it was the fact that you think about this, like you read these letters, and then you read the letters from her dad going, your half-sister's gone missing. We can't find her. And Percy writing, I am flying there now. We're going to try to track her down. Only to find her in a hotel room where she drank a lethal, I think it was a dose of morphine, I forget what it was, or one of the drugs of the time, because she just couldn't take it anymore. And she left a note, and that was that. Like, this is a real life here. She was an interesting person. Jordan Horst, I have an idea for another cheerleader variation. Same thing as before, but only uniforms. Jordan, I thought you might have such an idea. And good to see you, my friend. Long time OG. It's great to see you. Laudanum, thank you so much. It was Laudanum. Thank you, Son of Liberty Radio. Yeah, you're probably right. Hence the reason why they ran away to Geneva in the south of France. That's absolutely right. And while they were, or I think it was while they were there, she had a baby. And the baby came early, and the baby did not make it. And guys, this is before she wrote Frankenstein, and people are acting like, how could this person who only lived who's very intelligent, lived a brutal life and had the spark of genius within her, how did she write Frankenstein? And I read her journals, and I read the amount of books she was reading. And in particular, as I said before, as a Christian, she read the Bible. And then she read like 4 or 5 books going at any one time that were incredibly complicated and great works. She was ravenous for knowledge and information. She was a brilliant human being. And I will say this, once you date or marry somebody who is brilliant, you really cannot go back, guys. Yeah, I can speak from personal experience. But let me see if I can find this, because I want to read this from the PDF if I can. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. But there's a sequence in here that was just so excruciating. When I read it, I didn't even know what to say. I was like, it was, I don't even know what to say, but it was something to the effect of, thought the baby slept in today, woke up, and the baby was dead. And you just go, oh my God. And then like a couple of days later, she goes, had a nightmare that the baby was just, or had a dream that the baby wasn't dead, was just asleep, and all I need to do was put it by the fire and it warmed up. She talks about how well the baby is nursing in the lead up to the baby's passing. You read this stuff and you're like, how dare people take these brilliant folks, these talents, and reduce them to such, it's, yes, Jordan, me too. And you just, it's like getting punched in the stomach. You just go, oh God. And these are real people who lived real lives just like us, but they had a spark of brilliance in them that is echoed across the ages. And that's the stuff that, at the very least, I hope I can pay, homage to with the stuff I do with Nosfero. Because this is a work from the soul. This is a work from the gut. This is a work with all of the craft and skill I have. And you guys who back these books during this time, you guys are here for the beginning. You guys are here when these things are being made, when they're being mailed out by me. This is a very unique time, the space that we've created. And there's so many great books coming out. There's so many great things coming out. I implore you to make Nosfero a part of your library if you haven't already. And to get on board with this book, because this book is just a stand against the nihilism. It's give nihilism no quarter. It's about honor and beauty and good and strength and faith, but also evil and darkness done in a way that is evocative and artistic and beautiful. And that's, to me, what doing a gothic horror adventure comic is about. That to me, gothic pulp adventure is where I want to live. Yeah, it's the sort of gut punch many artists strive for, but it's real life. Exactly. And there's one on every turn of the journal page, as well as, and diaphanous, it's true. Emo Trash, turns out the family who were still receiving royalties from her likenesses completely disagreed, can't appease the mob. Yeah, it's Bram Stoker's Dracula. When I hear people talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula who are acting in adaptations of it, and they say, this book is so boring, I don't know how anybody can read it, I go, you shouldn't talk. You shouldn't. If you're doing an adaptation of one of the great works of fiction and you don't get why it's popular, or you can't see the greatness in it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. I mean, maybe you can act well, but if you think that, maybe keep your thoughts to yourself, because it just makes you look ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of things I don't like that I recognize are good on a reasonably objective level. And Dracula and Frankenstein are about as canonical and clear as they're going to get for works of art. And that's the thing that sort of amazes me about all of this, And I look at this stuff, and I look at Lovecraft, and I look at people attack. So here's my theory on Mary Shelley, if you want to know what my theory is on the questions of her authorship. The very same people who are anti-merit and and anti-male and anti all of these particular bigotries and prejudices that are accepted by leftist culture at this time, they have the weirdest thing where they say they want to uplift and uphold successful women, but at every turn they seem to attack them. And one of the things they really strongly believe in is they're anti-genius. So they always want to find out. So here's a really good example. I saw them doing this with George Lucas. George Lucas wasn't the genius behind Star Wars. It was Marcia Lucas, his wife. In fact, he was a drooling moron. And somehow all of these people would have come out with Star Wars if it wasn't for George Lucas. Even though most of these people will say, yeah, no, George was the genius behind it. That's why it worked. Even Marcia Lucas, his ex-wife, said that recently. Think about that. Craziness. But they want to give credit so that they can dilute the importance of the creator. Nuts. Absolutely crazy. They do this time and time again. And it blows my mind how people do that. They did it with Gosh, they do it with Mary Shelley. They're like, well, Mary Shelley, she didn't really write it. Percy Shelley, that's the most sexist thing I've ever heard if you think about it from their perspective. To take away credit of one of the great authors, they also are anti-individual, so they want her to be confused with her mom. They want everything to be a collectivist work. There's no such, they don't believe in genius. They don't think a genius exists. Yet so much of what they benefit from is the work of singular, brilliant people who come along and we all benefit. They would murder a genius if they could. They would wipe the idea of the genius from the face of the earth, which is why they can't support beauty and they can't take joy in excellence. And that's what makes the audience here and the people who are backing books and the people who are supporting channels, thank you guys so much. This is the stuff that makes you guys who you are, is that you can celebrate those things. Is that you don't wake up every morning and look at things and go, well, what does that say about me? It's weird. I don't know how to box. I would probably lose just on cardio alone in the first round. But when I watch fighters, when I watch boxers, I admire and I enjoy vicariously their excellence because that's what healthy people do. I don't think it'd be so much better if they were beaten down and crippled so they couldn't be so excellent because I'm not excellent. That's demented. That's absolutely demented because what we do when we welcome you, into, the participation in the creation of and financing of this work, because we have to create it, but you guys finance this stuff and you guys help us to make this possible. It's because we're saying I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to staple myself to my chair. I'm going to do this grueling work and you guys go, and I appreciate your grueling work. Let me help. I do that all the time. To me, it's like a reflex. That's why I was talking about this YouTube channel that I enjoy by this guy who goes around to horror conventions and visits Salem during Halloween. This guy named Derek, he's on the thumbnail for this stream, Derek Malin. I reached out to him recently and said, hey man, your channel makes me happy. That's great stuff. I love the stuff you do. And he messaged me back. Is that so hard? Is that a weird thing to do? Mary Shelley didn't write Frankenstein. Who did? Yup. 100%. Yep. I love boxing. I did do a little boxing, but I've never gotten a ring, never sparred. I only sparred and did things when I was young in Taekwondo. I do not, let me be clear, but I love boxing, do cardio, and I'm like a stats guy. I know fight history and I rewatch fights. I'm like one of those people who checks records and things like that. Yep. Satan has targeted a woman from becoming starting with Eve, lest the promised Messiah should be born of a woman. He failed. Yes, indeed. That's 100% right. What's up, Phil? How you doing, man? It's so nuts. What is up, Greg? I haven't seen you in ages. How have you been, my friend? My God, it's great to see you. How are you? Do you guys love how... I hope you guys know it's sincere, and I'm aware it's somewhat ridiculous how enthusiastic I get about people when I see them. Oh my God. It's real. Sadly, it's real. Sadly, I am actually this person. It's nuts. And remember, if you're wearing these hats, guys, take a lesson from Jimmy Cagney. Get it off to the side, Get it off to the side. Look a little bit, like you might be up to no good. That's important. And Grey Wolf, it is great to see you, channel member Grey Wolf. Thank you so much. It is terrific to see you guys. You guys know how it goes. Yeah, Shant, I've been busy. I believe it, man. I am now on Street Beef's team, so I am soon to make some real money. Oh, that's terrific. And fulfill my books. That's terrific, Greg. Congratulations, my friend. That's wonderful. I love hearing the good news. Speaking of what we were just talking about. Yeah, we were just talking about that, man. Yeah, it's a weird thing. So when I talk about H.P. Lovecraft, I think it's safe to say, here's my favorite way of describing it. When H.P. Lovecraft was my age, he had been dead 2 years. Okay? H.P. Lovecraft, in his 46 years, has done more with his genius to contribute to culture than I will ever do, and I probably could do in 1,000 lifetimes. Full stop. Mary Shelley, with one book, bigger than him. in terms of contributions. That's a bold statement, but it's true. Bram Stoker, the same. He will be seen as a part of that pantheon, but those guys are special. Do you get what I'm saying? So to not approach those people with humility and to think of them as being equals, you know, and saying, well, you know what I heard though? Mary Shelley, husband, helped her with the editing of the book. So it's like she didn't even really do much. Yeah, Irvin Kershner directed RoboCop 2 as well. Can we look at his filmography outside of Empire Strikes Back before we say that Empire Strikes Back wasn't about George Lucas? Irvin Kershner said his first meeting with George Lucas, or I think it was maybe even Lawrence Kasdan was talking about this, his first meeting with George Lucas, George goes, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father, and he went, holy shit. I'm sorry, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Just make sure I said that right. And it is absolutely, like, he goes, that's what the story was. That's the you take out that part that nobody knew but George. That was his idea. Like, is there anything in it? I mean, yes, the directing is great. The special effects are great. He was overseeing all of that stuff, which was like running a circus, because he was the studio head of a family business. Well, look, Son of Liberty, even I suspect that some days. Son of Liberty Radio says, Shelf didn't write and paint Nosfero. Mrs. Ingetti did all the work. Yes, I will say that while that is not true, she did write the introduction in that book, which is one of the finest and most humbling things I've ever read. And I would also say that, to paraphrase or quote Winston Churchill as best I can, which is to say paraphrase, the greatest accomplishment of my life was convincing my wife to marry me. I think that is absolutely true. And if she were here, you would hear her gag in the background and go, ugh. She would lovingly, and I do mean lovingly, make fun of me for that. But, you know, I haven't, and I'm sure some of you guys have, but I have not read Rip Van Winkle. I don't know if any of you know this. I'm confessing it now to all of you. I have not read Rip Van Winkle. Such a thing has not happened. Yes, Eric did that. He did technically write all the dialogue when you think about it. But yeah, oh god, Eric was so great on that. He was so great to work with, and I loved just hanging out with him and being his friend. I know if you saw us the other night, opening action figures and being silly dorks on my last stream, but it's one of the most fun times I've had in a while. So I'm not a wild fan of Rip Van Winkle, but I am a huge fan of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a brilliant, hysterically funny, biting, and also hauntingly enduring work, without which we'd be a different country. It's a part of our national identity. It's like Johnny Tremaine or something like that. It's an important work. And yeah, I don't know, man. I look at that stuff and I just go, that these are special works. You don't have more than one or two of those in you. You know, if you have two, it's almost unheard of. You know, it's like you're like Bo, you know, Bo Jackson, and you're, you know, a professional NFL player and a Major League Baseball player at the same time. We don't make a lot of those. It's crazy. Unreal. And yeah, I'm reading these comments in the chat. Yeah, I gotta know what's up here. Awesome. I look forward to being able to eat real food again. It's been a long time. Oh my gosh, my friend. I hope everything is well. Oh gosh, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. Well, yeah, I am very excited to hear your news, man, and I am glad to hear that you are on a really good path right now. May it remain so. And indeed. Yeah, it's great when I see you guys and it's in the chat, and I think it's you know, it's just funny, this crazy little thing. You know? It's amazing, this crazy little thing we have. And oh, God bless. Amen. Yep. 100%. And enjoy it, my friend. And enjoy it. I love it. But I sit around here and I go, at what point can we not acknowledge, brilliance in other artists? And it's and brilliance in the greats. Like, it's funny, we were talking before of how many people have only seen parts of the 1931 Dracula, or Frankenstein for that matter, the original movie. And when I hear that people haven't seen it, I don't go, how could you not have seen it? I go, you are so lucky to have that in your future. As soon as you get a chance, watch that movie. It's an experience. Maybe you're not going to love it. Maybe it's 1931. Maybe it's not going to connect with you. But it might just be a little bit of inspiration. And I think it's great to have that to look forward to. If you've never read Bram Stoker's Dracula, and if you've never read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, you have that to look forward to. You have all of these incredible aspects of the literature. I look at H.P. Lovecraft in the very same way. I'm so glad that I came across H.P. Lovecraft's work and that it's become a part of my life, but I found it at the right time. And it was almost like I was, meant to find it. I ended up in the same town, going to a very niche college that he went to, and then had so many other Lovecraft connections. I'm sorry, not that he went to, that one of the characters in Call of Cthulhu went to, but I've lived, on the same street that he lived on in Providence, and it's a crazy thing to just to see those kinds of coincidences and things happen. But I'm always excited when there's a new experience to be had with a movie. I love discovering new things, and I've loved reading about Mary Shelley, and I want to get out there a portrait of her that pushes against and that is actually accurate and eradicates the politicizing of her life, because her life was too grand, too rich, too fraught, interestingly enough, with poverty, with loss of 3 out of 4 children, with loss of her husband when they were just married, with loss of her mother 11 days after she was born. I mean, these are people that should be inspirations to us, and we should be angry when people try to tear them down piece by piece by making petty little comments about them. H.P. Lovecraft. People come to me, they say, did you know he was racist? Have you read his poetry? Have you seen this? Yeah, I've actually seen almost everything he's written, but especially that. And here's the thing I'm going to come back to. Did he kill anybody? 1, no. What are the horrible crimes he did other than his thoughts and his words, which, by the way, it's a free country. People say offensive things. I'd rather them come out with them than have them secretly harbor them. Frankly, I'm all right with that. Give it air. That's kind of one of the things about our country. But that's not the reason why I'm into him. Those aren't sophisticated things. I feel sometimes like we're combing past H.P. Lovecraft's poetry he tweeted out. And I go, what do you want me to do with that? I don't think anybody was I don't think he was winning any fans with that stuff. I think it was, it's just a part of a very human, flawed, we're all flawed person. I don't turn my flaws to poetry per se, but whatever. He was a genius. He made brilliant work. And to erase him from his work is to kill individuality everywhere. You gotta deal with him as a person. That someone can have flaws and still be a genius, and have genius that most of us will never, ever know. I hope, too, because otherwise it wouldn't be genius. And I have to take a moment to say hello to Mike D. He's Mike D, and he gets respect. His cash, or your cash and your jewelry is what he expects. It is great to see you, Michael. How are you doing, my friend? And I hope you are well. Yeah. I saw the things Lovecraft said that people claimed was racism. It was, well, some of it was. It was, how do I put it? Yeah, it was racist, and he said racist things, but he was also a tortured soul. He was a viciously intense, and certainly his mother was. My God. And she was another, she explains Lovecraft pretty well when you learn about her. She was a piece of work, to put it mildly. But he was truly had so many anti-Semitic beliefs, and he married a Jewish woman. So he was very ineffectual in his understanding of his racism. But H.P. Lovecraft's mom, he was growing up during the eugenics time. His mom was emotionally abusive, to put it mildly. She told him every day he had a hideous face and that his body was at risk of falling apart. And she was a twisted woman. Yes, good night, Emo. Take care. She was bad. You know, racism was just a thing of the times. It was mainly eugenics, which is... I've done some of the research I've done on eugenics and the history of psychology that avenue of psychology that was misinterpreted and used by eugenicists is terrifying. And he was, by no means was he extreme in that region. There were a lot more extreme people. Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's such a strange thing when I look at all of these icons. For heaven's sake, if you're gonna read about Lovecraft, don't pick out his. If you're really interested, I mean, and if you're not, don't even bother with him. No one has to. That's the great thing about, you know, having choice and free will in this country in terms of what you put in front of you. But if you really want to understand the guy, read about him. Read about his relationships. He was like a friend that people had who they all knew was a genius, but was crippled by mental illness, paranoia, anxiety, depression, and ended up at 46, you know, passing away incredibly, you know, malnourished because he had stomach cancer. He couldn't even eat anymore. Like, he was just so tortured. Oh, sorry if I froze. Yeah. Yes, that's true. In today's racist, that's all he would really need. Oh, did it freeze on too? Oh, I got you. Yeah, hopefully it's not too bad now. But yeah, he was just, I mean, these people are really interesting. And yeah, that's what I say that about all of these people. Like, I look at this and I go, Mary Shelley's journal entries, excellent. Oh, fantastic. I will absolutely take a look at that. Yes, indeed. And Mr. Bubbles, it's great to see you in the house. How are you doing? I haven't welcomed you yet. Let me make sure that I do. And please, guys, hit that like button if you haven't already. But you guys are doing a great job on the like button. We're almost at 40 likes, and we've got 77 people watching right now between X and here. 24 watching on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. But I think it's worth pointing out that when I look at stuff and I look at these artists that I'm inspired by, I'll read the typical, if I can find an area. Watch me fail now, spectacularly. Jane, let me see here. Just trying to find a really good stretch of diary or journal entries. And there's a ton, but I want to find just a particularly good short stretch of what Mary Shelley was like. What Mary Godwin and then Mary Shelley was like. That's what I can't drive that home enough. Let me see if this is her journal. I want to make sure. 2 or 3 times more Mary wrote Isabel, but the correspondence dropped and the friends met no more for many years. And then it goes to her journal entries. And this is Mary. Journal, Thursday, February 12th. Go to the Indian Library and the Panorama of Rome. On Friday the 13th, spend the morning at the British Museum looking at Elgin marbles. On Saturday the 14th, go to Hunt's. Claire and Shelley go to opera. On Sunday the 15th, Mr. Branson, Peacock, and Hogg dine with us. Wednesday, February 18th, spent the day at Hunt's. On Thursday the 19th, dine at Horace Smith's. Like, we have an itinerary of so many of her days and the things she was doing. Thursday, March 12th, France, discussion of whether we should cross. Our passage is rough. A sick lady is frightened and says the Lord's Prayer. We arrive at Calais for the 3rd time. You go through all of the stuff that she was doing. You can be transported. And these are all available on Project Gutenberg, has her journals. But it's, my God, guys. You can actually learn about these folks. Oh, very cool. Finch and Andy Kubert on. Very nice. On whose channel? Now I missed it. Dang it. Yeah, the media wants us all fighting each other. Absolutely. That's why another channel I like is the Y-Files. He agrees with me on all of that, and I appreciate that. He has good sense. The only reason why racism is still a topic today is because classism is the real problem and racism is a distraction. Yeah, I would say that we've de-emphasized our humanity, and we've de-emphasized just having relationships. People need to get out and actually talk to people and and feel like there's power in caring about people. And I think that that's one of the things because we are a part of they, I think, is important. We have to actively refuse it. If Nosfero has, if there's something that I really wanted to say with Nosfero, is I wanted Nosfero to be a middle finger to nihilism. I wanted it to be a middle finger to all of the people who want to welcome me in to a way of logic, and who are continually offering a way of logic where it's driven by resentment. It's driven by a sense of hopelessness. It's driven by telling people that, hey, guess what? You know what? Here's the interesting thing, man. You're right to be mad because you should have more of somebody else's stuff. You know what it is? That person, he's not more talented than you. They're not more talented than you. They don't have more skill than you do. It's all a cheap trick, and they're all stealing your success. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that you get put in front of you every single day. Oh, those people are all out to get you. We're here to save you. And to be able to be in a position where you go, I am content. In my case, I would say I'm content with God's plan for me. I don't understand the plan, but so far it has brought all of you people here, and I've got all of you people around me, something I could not have imagined, I could have never thought would have been possible, and I am incredibly fortunate to be here. I say, no, 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 no. What I have is what I'm supposed to have. I will work hard. I will put stuff out there, and there is something grander for me that I can't even imagine, and I will keep working towards that end. And I will work. And I always say this, and maybe, Greg, this is something to remember. My wife gave me this when I launched Nosfero and I took the leap of faith into this world, and it's why I have so much love for that woman, so much respect for that woman, but I love that she gave me this, because this is a crazy thing for a wife to give a risk-taking husband. You got to have a lot of courage and a lot of faith in your man. Proceed as if success is inevitable. So important to do, guys. So important to do. Proceed as if success is inevitable. Because you've got to do that. You absolutely got to do that when you're working on something difficult. Mark's Music Obsession, I freaking love that. Thank you for those emojis. I wish they'd show up here, but I appreciate you. Yes, I can't do hopeless anymore. I refuse. It feels so decadent to me. Amen, guys. It's great to see all of you guys being excited to see each other. Yeah. We are meant to be unbreakable like men used to be. Communism is taking over like it did in Russia, China, Cambodia, and other countries. And yes, one of my wife's childhood friends is married to a young man whose mother was pregnant with him when she fled the Khmer Rouge. So yeah, that's very particular to me. And I've actually been remastering. I want to see if I can remaster it digitally and share it with my kids and everything like that. But The Girl Who Spelled Freedom, Lin Yang, one of the most powerful stories. She was in this country. She was a refugee from Cambodia. She was in this country for a couple of years and was the runner-up at the National Spelling Bee. And there was a Disney film back when Disney made movies celebrating America that were anti-communism. Back in the day it happened. There was a movie called The Girl Who Spelled Freedom. She was from my hometown. She was from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, yeah, we were very touched and affected by that. Yeah, no, that's part of it. That's absolutely right. Yep. Yeah, she does. My wife does know what's up, and she's amazing. Yep. Absolutely right. Yeah, man. I mean, this is the wild thing about it, you know. It's so much easier. It's so much easier to go through, like, how do I put it? I remember saying once that when there's the worst attitude to have is to only have one half of when something happens that's good to somebody and you say, why didn't that happen to me? And not have the second part of that, which is when something awful happens to them, why didn't that happen to me? The second part will probably balance out and erase that first part. But it's really immature to only have that first part. And it's you got to have an appreciation for that stuff. And I think that's, for me, that's what Nosfero is about. Like, Nosfero he's forged in the fire in a lot of ways. When I was reading Mary Shelley's journals, I could relate to them because that's how I was made. I was forged in incredibly difficult situations, and I experienced some excruciating adversity, none of which is I'm not going to talk about on this stream or any of that stuff, but it is it's stuff that I have the humility and I am just so grateful that I was able to make it through things, and I have an appreciation that not everybody does, and I'm grateful every single day. That makes me more enthusiastic, more inspired, and more committed to my artwork than I can possibly express, because I go, my God, how fortunate am I to be here, to be with you guys, to have survived some very difficult things, and to come out on the other side with real hope and belief in humanity. You guys know I've been on YouTube now for 5 years, and been doing this and talking stream of consciousness while I work all that time. You can't fake it, that's for sure. You cannot fake being positive for that amount of time. There's a lot of people who would if they could, and they can't, so they don't. And that's how people get found out with this stuff. Yep. When your friend finds success, or a wife celebrates with him because it's rare. Yes, exactly. You're right. I agree, Shant. I found that you can't network and function if you envy others. You absolutely can't. Absolutely can't. I'm an acronym nut. You're absolutely right. You guys are killing me. Yeah. Acronyms are the key. Yeah, it's so true. I have the best apocalypse survival team now. That's right. I have an army of boxers and MMA fighters on my side. Amen, man. Amen, Greg. And that's the crazy thing about it. I can't sell you guys poison. I can't ask people to back me on Nosfero and back poison. It makes me feel sick, and it makes me feel sad. And I'm somebody who likes every kind of story that is well done. Bleak stories. I mean, my God, my favorite Shakespeare play is Macbeth. That's a story that stars a villain and is bleak. It's incredible. Frankenstein is incredibly depressing. Dracula isn't. Dracula is actually an uplifting story, but it goes to dark places. It goes to bleak places. And I need art. I need Shakespeare. I need stuff that is, but I also need Todd McFarlane, man. I need Todd McFarlane. I need The Dark Knight Returns. I need stuff like that as well. Shoot, I need New Mutants by Rob Liefeld, for God's sake. I need Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Eastman and Laird. I love that stuff, guys. Thanks. Take care, John. You heading out? God bless you. Yep. Okay, God bless you. And seriously, hang in there, my friend. Hang in there. Yep. And, but it's a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a thing, isn't it? Just leave that hanging in the air. But it's an amazing thing to have the opportunity in this country and never take it for granted. And here's the funniest thing about it. When someone tells me that, I'm like, that makes total sense to me. And I think that's one of my favorite things is when I say things that people are like, how can you like that? And I'm like, I just do. I could actually tell you what I like about it, but I don't need to convince anybody. Yes, that's right, man. Mark, I can't wait to get that to you. Yes, and take care of John. Ferris Comics, good night, John. Indeed, yep, people saying good night and take care. Yeah, I don't think I can stomach any more of the debates for me personally, but but God bless you guys enduring it. But it's a crazy thing because I had a friend of mine, I still have, is a guy named Michael King, and he has a channel called The Choice Voice. I don't know him. He was ranting about, in the best way, about Star Wars all the way back to The Force Awakens. He was like me. He was one of those people who, from the very start, was not a fan of those movies, and had his opinions, and I went, right on, this guy gets what is going on with this stuff. For me, I understand him. But his biggest contribution to me was not the fact that we shared a dislike of something, but that he shared a love of something, which is Hammer horror movies, which I had never seen before. So I had never seen Hammer horror movies. If it wasn't for Michael, I should say, I would not have seen those. So here's this guy in Oklahoma with a YouTube channel that I never would have met at any other time, and he introduced me to Hammer horror movies, which are one of the biggest contributing factors to my work at this time, and maybe for many years to come. And I can't imagine my life without it, and I owe that to him. And he makes Star Trek fan films. Starship Valiant is the name of his Star Trek fan film series. And he acts in it, and he writes the stuff, and he also directs it typically. And they're just really fun, true to Star Trek, done with a bunch of guys who live in Oklahoma. Although I think the guy who does the special effects doesn't live there anymore, but they can still work together. But they do drone footage. And I actually did a poster painting for him because, just for fun, just to make that, the release of it more fun. And he's a great guy. And we still text every now and again, or he'll say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And we check things out. But he does a month of horror on his channel, The Choice Voice. And he was just talking about Ingrid Pitt of Hammer horror fame and her movie, what is it called? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Something, the vampire, oh gosh, I'm totally blanking on it. The vampire something, but he's got a great one. He's fantastic. Let me see here. I'm so far behind in the chat. Hello, hey, what's up, Immoral Fat 40 ounce? Oh my God, dude, I don't have the shirt on right now. This kills me. I have a t-shirt for a 40 ounce, faux 40 ounce, drink called, that's available on my TeePublic, that's, called Crazy with a K, Crazy Horse, based on the 40s I used to drink when I was a kid growing up in Tennessee, but it's like Crazy Cat, so it's got a cartoon drawing on it. If you've never seen it, it may make you laugh, and I love the Cobra icon, my friend. That is a great film. That film is barking mad and excellent at the same time. And you can't do much better than that. I love some barking mad art. So let me see if I can make this work here. Don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try it. I think it did. Okay. So let me see if I can make this work. This right here is a link to the t-shirt. Just have a laugh and look at it, because you may appreciate it. If you've ever drank 40s, you'll know what I mean. I assume you've seen all 158 movies. Oh, I'm still working on it, Mark. I got to get there. I'm still working on it, but I love Hammer horror. I've got one of those beautiful books of all time right here, and I can't show you the page I'm looking at because it's not fit for consumption, and I can't show you even all of the cover because it might trigger YouTube. But this is the Hammer Glamour book, and it's classic images from the archives of Hammer films, and it's all of the Hammer beauties, and you can spell that two different ways if you want to. It could be the Hammer booties, but it's whatever fickles your fancy, but it's great stuff. Yeah, there you go. So that's the link to the shirt. Caleb, it's great to see you. Big Mouth Mickeys are the best 40s. There you go, Caleb. Yeah, they don't even make Crazy Horse anymore, but that stuff was like drinking, oh my God, how would I describe it? Yeah, that stuff was like drinking a milkshake of beer. It was serious, man. It was a meal. I haven't drank Mickey's, which is really, or Old English, which is really weird because those are sort of standards. I don't know what drew me to that, but that was my nickname when I was in like 8th and 9th grade because that's what I drank. It was called Crazy Horse. Wrong Indian. They struggled with that. Is the t-shirt what Angela wants Shelby wearing? A Shelby t-shirt? Yes. My favorite one so far, boy, that's a really tough question because I have some sentimental favorites. The first one I ever watched is probably the one that I have the deepest connection with, which is really strange, because it's not one of the most famous ones, but it's Twins of Evil. Twins of Evil with Peter Cushing, the Collinsons, and it's just a really great pulpy, lighting thing. I think artistically the best one for me that I like are the two see, I could keep going, but of Bray Studios era Hammer, the two that I love the most are The Mummy with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee again, but I think Brides of Dracula has got to be, it's got to be one of my all-time favorites. I don't even know. I think I may even have that around here because I usually have Brides of Dracula within reach of me, weirdly, because it's just, I don't know. There's Fright Night. I've got that Blu-ray near me, but I don't know if I've got Brides of Dracula here, unfortunately. But I love that movie. See, I've got a pile of stuff here of things that I'm working on and trying to get ready. Like I have a character that I've been playing around with, and that character is Blood from the Mummy's Tomb is fantastic. I own that on Blu-ray as well. I have tons of Blu-rays. A milkshake of beer is the best way I could describe it, past Master Dan. And if what you're picturing makes you feel a little sick, just try to imagine drinking it at 14, and that'll tell you about what it was like. It was an experience. But I have this character that I've had for a while, and I am attempting to customize a mask with to make the character. See if I can make the. Actually, you know what? What am I doing? I'm just gonna hold it up like this. Let me see if does this one put. Oh, here we go. Puts me full screen. There we go. So this is the cartoonish character. And this mask started out, it had a nose, it had, the eyes were completely red, the hairline went all the way down. I bought another mask to put these fangs on. I built this sort of skull nose out using pieces of cut rubber, and then I'm filling it in with liquid latex for molding masks. So I've been building this. And this is, oh yeah. Unbelievable. Boy, that's the best special effects in Hammer movies. Are the ladies. You had to be Peter Cushing of Christopher Lee. No, it's actually of the Gnarly McFiend's character that I'm kind of reworking that I've had. And let me see if I can get this thing on and show you guys without. I'm probably gonna knock my headphones out, so apologies. But let's see how this works. I have to have my glasses on to do this because I can't see otherwise. Whoop, that didn't work. Let's try that one more time. This isn't gonna work. Okay. No more glasses. One more time. Once more with feeling. There we go. So the nose comes through here, and I'd have to get some kind of black cloth on it to make it work, but I also want to be able to breathe. But this is the mask. Cartoony and fun. But that's what we do during this holiday season. We make things. Yeah, excuse me while I whip this thing out, says past Master Dan. You know how it goes. There we go. Oh, yeah, I love Evil Dead. That's the thing about Nosfero. Again, guys, I pinned the link to the book. Your support is appreciated, but that's the thing about Nosfero, man. I made my Necronomicon, trying to avoid showing you any female nudity in this book. But when I was designing the... Oh, shoot, I'm not on the right screen. Hang on a second. When I was designing the Necronomicon Ex Nihil, it was very inspired by what I love about Evil Dead. And I even made reference on a couple of the pages to actual artwork or paraphrased artwork from the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. Because this book is just a love letter to all of that kind of mythos, all of the kind of horror history. That's what makes Nosfero the book that it is. And so when you get to how the book was formed and the evil folks who did it, it's just straight up Lovecraft meets... is that the page with... trying to make sure I don't accidentally show any nudity in this book. But, it's painted or whatever. But that was the whole thing that this was about. When I'm drawing the werewolves, it's my references to Rick Baker and all of that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I was saying earlier that it was frustrating, sad to learn about the loss of Christopherson. But his portrayal of Blade's father was very much the inspiration for my character Greylock. I mean, Whistler and Greylock are very similar in terms of their attitude, their gruffness, but their ultimate affection for their adopted sons. And so that was, for me, that was something that was really fun about it. Oh yeah, my opinion of Ash is I love that character. Ash Ash is an everyman trying to do the right thing when everything around him is perpetually going wrong. And there's something really lovable about that kind of character, particularly in Evil Dead 2. You know, you really get this, you get this sense of him just being, you know, like, I am so far in over my head, I'm going insane, but he keeps fighting. That's what's so fun. I held a movie prop once. Well, one of the Necronomicon props, there were a few made. Yeah, I actually have, don't know where, but I actually have somewhere around here my Trick or Treat Studios Necronomicon book, which is, I mean, it's not the most expensive edition of the book or the most priceless edition of the book. It's reasonably affordable, but it's still so cool to have, because I think that was a great convention, you know, for them to do that. It was, I mean, just an idea of, I think just in terms of the actor Bruce Campbell as Ash in Evil Dead, some of the physical comedy work he did, if you would call it that, when he was possessed, was unbelievable. Like, I don't know how anyone could survive some of the things. He went full Buster Keaton in that movie, in that the sequence in the kitchen where his hand is possessed and he gets flipped and lands flat on his back. That was all Bruce Campbell. That's incredible. That guy he's brilliant. He's a real treasure. A real treasure. There we go. I'm back. Yep. Ed 2, yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, R2-D2 is the best. Where do we meet? Yes, indeed. Ash versus Evil Dead is perfection. And, well, yes, I heard it's great. I saw parts of it and I thought it was hilarious. I just didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing yet. Evil Dead 2 is one of the great works of cinematic art ever produced. I'd agree. Yeah, slapstick is great. It's its own thing. It's clearly the work of a young, you know, brilliant filmmaker, and that's another one. As far as, you know what? I actually may have contradicted myself in something, though it's not the same thing, in one of my suppositions. Yeah. Ash is... Yeah. Ash is the first Lovecraftian hero. The first true story, and the birth of, with Evil Dead 2 in particular, of the birth of a Lovecraftian hero. And so, in a lot of ways, it can't help but be a touchstone for what I'm doing, because Nosfero is a Lovecraftian hero. He's a hero who exists in Lovecraft's world. And he is a superhero in a sense. Once he gets that, the over-the-shoulder shotgun holster, you know, sawed-off shotgun holster, and he gets the chainsaw hand, he is a superhero. He is a full-on hero, and that's how you have to do it. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, Nosfero isn't a daisy. He isn't. You know, and outside of, you know, the sexiness and the hammer horror and the beautiful babes and all that kind of stuff, you know, like, there's so many pages I want to share. I want to share with you guys. But I'll give you an example of what I mean by skillful use of my thumb. So this is a page that you guys have probably seen on the campaign. This sums up, for me anyway, the kind of hammer horror meets H.P. Lovecraft quality of this story. And it's an important aspect of this story. It's an important aspect because I wanted it to have all the ingredients of pulp. This page, which I think you guys have also seen, is what happens when you F around and you find out and you make Nosfero angry. That's what happens to you when you're a vampire. So it's got action, it's got sexiness. I'll try to cover this up as best as possible. I don't think I've ever shared that page before, but there you go. But it's got a lot of exciting stuff in it. Yes, later Ferris Comics, my friend. You take care and have a good one. Take care, brother. And thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate you very, very much. Yep. You got to fight the bad guys. I feel... whoops, let me click on this. I feel that even though they deal with supernatural powers that are mysterious to humans, that's just a tiny bit of what makes something... You're right. Absolutely right. And I'm going to be doing... I'm going to be doing some conversations on this channel about... yes, 100%. 100%. one of the things that I'm going to definitely be doing, and thank you so much, with this channel, is I do want to have fun talking about Lovecraft, because I feel like Lovecraftian is one of the most overused words, so much so that when someone really understands what it means and how much more Lovecraft there was, how do I put it? I know people who are Robert E. Howard fans, and I would define them as people who know a lot more than just about Conan. I'm not a Robert E. Howard fan in the sense that I like his stuff, but I don't know his body of work. So I'm not a Conan fan. I'm a huge Solomon Kane fan. So that's how I would describe it. If you're a huge fan of Cthulhu, you could say this is, inspired by Cthulhu, or it's inspired by this. But when someone says Lovecraftian, they usually mean tentacles, and they usually mean just, I don't know what. They usually mean just Cthulhu, I think. I think that's really typically what they mean. But they don't mean the thing on the doorstep. And the thing on the doorstep was my first Lovecraft short story. That thing was terrifying, man. That was a terrifying story. I got to the end of that story and I was like sick. If somebody made a movie of that today, it would have so many repercussions and things that connects to today. The Shadow over Innsmouth. I'm not talking about books like Dagon and the Call of Cthulhu, because they're about people discovering Cthulhu, monsters or gods or whatever you want to call them. Yes. Rats in the Walls is another great example. Yes, indeed. Lovecraftian characters are typically prey animals. And you know what? That is the thing I thought about when I was creating Nosfero. I said, what would a hero be that could stand up to Dracula and inspire fear in Frankenstein and Dracula, and at the same time be able to do battle with the forces trying to let Lovecraftian cosmic horror into our world. But I didn't really make a character in Nosfero who could do battle with Cthulhu and those big Lovecraftian creatures. So what I ended up making was, for book 2 of Nosfero, this is the first page of, I'll show you guys. Let me go to a full screen cam again. This right here, now that's not going to do anything because of the way the light's set up. This right here is the first page of Nosfero, Death Will Die. So this is the first page of that book. And it is a very rich, detailed story. It starts with a dream sequence in it. But the cover of Nosfero, Death Will Die introduces a new character that's going to be a part of the story. And of Nosfero, Death Will Die. He's not going to be the central character because he's never in the same place as Nosfero except for one point in the book. But this character, his name is Bromstone. And Bromstone, the stone of Abraham, is what it's the shorthand for. He can fight Cthulhu. He is slightly bigger than a man. He's inspired by the Jewish folklore around the golem. He has in Hebrew written on his head, Emmet, just like the golem. But he was designed to prevent creatures from coming in to one of the gates that was left open by the Dracula-esque character of this story. So he's all that stands between us and an open gate. And the story is about Nosfero trying to close the gate and allow him to come home, basically. And he's got a shield that fires out the souls of the defenders of the God of Abraham. That's basically what he does. This is some Raiders of the Lost Ark of the Covenant stuff. This is like Spielberg, George Lucas meets Hammer Horror and Lovecraft, and I hope you guys all come along for the ride and back the hell out of these books because I'm excited about them. Clive's book, The Great and Secret Show, is the ultimate Lovecraftian story. Very nice. Thank you. Oh, geez. Thank you, Greg. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Greg. I do appreciate that. God bless you. Oh, my gosh. Thank you, man. You guys are too kind. Yeah, I mean, I have a story to tell, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Springball, guys. It's like I want to make great comics for you guys. I want people to be excited and into the stuff and I want to bring some positivity to people because I think that one, it's hard to do. It's a great challenge. but because all I can think is of how many people have brought art and poetry and creativity to me, and who my heroes are, like Dave Stevens, creator of The Rocketeer. Todd McFarlane certainly did. Gosh, I just think of all the people right now. It's Richard Corbin, absolutely does. Frank Frazetta absolutely does. Alphonse Mucha is my number one artistic influence. Yep. Oh, I tell you what, man. We're going to have a limited amount of the copies we have of Spring Ball 2 on that campaign when it launches. So that should be exciting. Yeah, Dagon is a decent start. Yeah, Dagon is a decent start. I had a weird start to Lovecraft because I read the thing on the doorstep because our first apartment when we got married was referenced in that story. So we got married, we got this apartment, and then I learned that our apartment was actually referenced in an H.P. Lovecraft story because I saw the H.P. Lovecraft locations of Providence, and it showed our house, and I said, what the heck? And that's how I got into Lovecraft. And that story was The Shunned House. And The Shunned House is a heck of a story. I think Dagon, if you start with a story like Dagon, you should follow that up with The Shadow over Innsmouth. That would be a great pairing. I think the Call of Cthulhu is a great story. I think At the Mountains of Madness is probably the best, but I wouldn't jump right into that one because it's just savor it. You know, it's a amazing one. Yeah, Mucha's amazing. Mucha is just amazing. Yeah, I mean we're having a great time, guys. Yep. This is the crazy thing, man. We're gonna have fun. Don't look, Artist and Jetty, behind you. Your hand is oh yes, it's Dracula. Yes, these are the posters I got when I had that wonderful trip with my family, whom I loved so much. It was a great time, down to Universal in Florida, and they were selling these quasi sort of retro Universal monster posters, and I go, I have to put those behind me when I stream. Because I want to share with everybody how much I love the stuff that we do, man. It's so crazy. Yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild. I've yet to read Mountains of Madness manga. It's good. I just got the hardcover of it, and it's way easier to read because it's larger. The original manga was too small. You can't produce that. That work is way too detailed, and I'm too old. My eyes couldn't see it. You know, it's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. Oh my gosh, guys. Okay, we're at 3 hours and 41 minutes. Thank you guys for being here. I had a great time streaming with you, and I wanted to make sure we did. I'm going to wrap up now. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to go grab something to eat, because I do think that's an essential part of living, is grabbing something to eat. But I wanted to make sure that I did a stream today on October 1st, the start of spooky season. Do me a favor. If you haven't seen it yet, and actually, let me see if I can share this before I head out. Let me see if I can share this. Okay, I'm going to go here. Then I'm going to turn off a couple of overlays because I want to share this with you guys, because this dude has brought me a lot of fun this week with his enthusiasm. And let me go to here and see if this works. Oh my goodness, we'll see if this works. Okay, and then I'll go... Oh god, can I make this work? Okay, so I'm going to go here. Then I'm going to get rid of this. There we go. This person right here, Derek Millen. Derek Millen goes to visit Salem. He visits horror conventions around the New England area. He is an incredibly enthusiastic, passionate guy. If you like to see an enthusiastic guy talk about horror, go to conventions, walk you around Salem with a great camera, showing you the sights of a place I know all too well, wonderfully. And if you like to see a guy have a beer, hang out with his friends, have some good food, and chill out, do me a favor and check out his channel. It is a really great channel. You get I've been to Salem a bunch of times, love it. You get a real sense of what it's like to be in Salem. Heck, it might even make you want to visit the place. So if you have not yet, oops, let's see if I can make this happen. Okay, I got to switch out of this because otherwise it's not going to work. So hang on. I got to come over here so I can paste this into the chat. There we go. So there is the link to his channel. Do make sure you check it out. It is a really fun channel. You might enjoy it. It might help you get into the spirit of the season. this year. And so I'll let you get a good look at that character right there before we head out. But thank you guys so much for being here, part of the stream. Help me get the word out about Nosfero. If you would be so kind. We've only got 19 more days left to back this book. 40 likes. You guys crushed it today. A 3-hour stream. We did pretty good. And take care, Greg. Thank you guys so much. You're very welcome. And it's a fun way to get into the Halloween season. Thank you, Mark. You guys, you channel members are awesome. And I appreciate you so much, Mark. And take care, Greg. It is great to see you. I'm glad to hear things are going well. Thank you so much, channel member Awesome One. And God bless you too, my friend. Yes, indeed. Yes, the case of Charles Dexter Ward is a really intense one. Yeah, it's terrific. Take care. Thank you so much, Cranberry Landers. I will tell her to feel better. Thank you, sir. You are a gallant gentleman, and I do appreciate it. Yeah, there's so many great stories. And thank you so much, guys. I appreciate all of you guys. Have a wonderful evening. I will see you soon. Go check out any of the great streams going on. Maybe Ethan's streaming. Maybe John or Shane is streaming. Maybe any number of people are streaming. Michael could be streaming. But as I like to say at the end of every stream, because it is true, from the heart of Lovecraft Country and the birthplace of American religious liberty, my name is Shanthan Jetty. This has been Shanthan Jetty Art. Thank you so much for being here. I always like to close with these fine words. Speak easy, stay gold, keep the faith, and peace be with you. I appreciate you guys so much. Good night, everybody. And here are the credits with our channel members in them. Thank you guys so much for your support. I couldn't do what I do without you doing what you do. Take care. And I will see all of you guys soon.
Good morning. Come on in. Coffee's good, fresh and hot. 24 hours a day. Just come on in. Come on in. You'll see. We're gonna treat you like your family. Just come on in. We're always home. There's a waffle in the baker on the grill. We're making bacon. You're always welcome back home. Just sit right here. Coffee's good.